What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 7 Ma. Chapter 124 Let Aokiji Admiral teach me the color of arms. Open black lens bracket 5/7 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Early in the morning, the deck of the warship is very lively. Kebi and Belumbo are training hard, and under the guidance of Pokuto, they are working hard to learn Marine 6 styles. Start learning from the simplest iron body. But even the simplest iron body is still difficult for Kebi and Belumbo to master, and they say they can't understand it, which makes them look extraordinarily clumsy. This made Pokuto emotional, and he was speechless. Then he saw Layfon, who had just stepped out of the door and onto the deck. There are comparisons and references. Immediately, Pokuto looked at the clumsy Kebi and Belumbo, and wanted to complain and feel helpless in his heart. Look, look, look. The same young people. You are almost 10 years older than Layfon. It stands to reason that your comprehension shouldn't be so bad. But look at Layfon, you can master Marine 6 styles at once. Pokuto looked at Kebi and the two with hatred, and sighed silently. Suddenly felt, Kebi and Beru Meber, they are nothing but idiots. But on second thought, Pokuto thought that when he was learning Marine 6 styles, he was just as clumsy as Kebi, and he gradually understood and mastered it. Only this monster is different. Pokuto couldn't help shaking his head. If you take a monster yourself, how can you compare it to guys like Kirby? It's not just. Let Kebi and the others find abuse. Compared to monsters, forget it. Kebi and the others don't have the ability. At this time, Kebi and Belumbo, who were looked at by Pokuto with weird eyes, couldn't help but slander in their hearts. Don't compare us. Take your own talent back then and compare it with the monster Mr. Layfon. That way, it won't look like the two of us are the only ones who are bad. In fact, you suck too. Of course, it was impossible for Kebi and the others to say these words. Unless, they are desperate and dare to directly offend Colonel Naval Headquarters. What Layfon could do, neither of them could do. Because whether it is strength or status, they are far behind Layfon. Layfon, here you come. Pokuto looked at Layfon and greeted him with a smile. Colonel Pokuto, good morning, have you started training for Kebi so early? That's really hard work for you. Layfon came step by step. Looking at Kebi and Beru Meber, who are studying Marine 6 styles hard, Layfon can't help feeling a little emotional. What a hardworking young man. DM. Compared with myself, it is far worse. Isn't Marine 6 styles something you can learn with your own hands? Seeing the dull postures of Kebi and Beru Meber, Layfon couldn't help but want to speak, but he held back to avoid causing a 10,000-ton spiritual shock to Kebi and Beru Meber. Can feel Layfon's eyes. Kebi and Belumbo bowed their heads with guilt and shame. Mr. Layfon, you must be despising our talent. What a shame. Shame on you. We are dicks. Our thing. By the way, I almost forgot to tell you. Layfon, after Vice Admiral Garp told you to come to the deck, go find him. Pokuto slapped his forehead, then opened his mouth to remind. The old man is looking for me. Where is he? Layfon was a little surprised, and asked back immediately. It's right in front of the deck, you should be able to see it after a few more steps. Pokuto then stated, and Aokiji Admiral, also there. Aokiji Admiral, advertisement. With a puzzled expression on his face, Layfon walked towards the front of the deck step by step. Not long, he soon saw Garp's presence. At this moment, Garp was standing on the edge of the deck fence, holding the senbei snack in his hands with a happy face, throwing it into his mouth casually, and there were bursts of crisp sounds. Aokiji, on the other hand, is even more eye-catching. Aokiji lay directly on the sun lounger, a book blocked his face, he was dressed in very casual clothes, looking very comfortable and relaxed. Aokiji lying here, good to soak up the sun in the sand. The majestic Admiral of Headquarters has no airs or image at all, but looks like an ordinary person without much difference. Old man, are you looking for me? Layfon asked straight to the point. Right. Garp placed the snacks in his hand on the top of the deck fence, and raised his hand to wipe some broken material from the corner of his mouth. What do you want me for? I'm very busy. Layfon looked suspicious. What are you busy with? This old man has an important matter for you. Garp was speechless and rolled his eyes. Let's talk about it, I have the right to refuse. Layfon looked suspicious. What is this old man planning? Always feel bad. An ominous premonition filled Layfon's heart. Looking at Layfon's vigilant look, Garp looked angry and let out an iron fist, ready to teach Layfon a lesson. Old man, don't be impulsive. Layfon took half a step back subconsciously, with a strange look on his face. Forget it, you boy, you really don't know how to be blessed when you are in the blessing. How much effort did the old man spend to pave the way for you, kid? Don't you appreciate it? Garp waved his hand, then turned to Aokiji next to him. Little devil, don't sleep, get up for this old man quickly. There is an important thing that needs to be done by you. At this time, Aokiji lazily pushed away the book covering his face, revealing the face of a salted fish, with a dull expression. Vice Admiral Garp, I agreed in advance that I will not do troublesome things. The words fell. Garp's brows were burning with fury, and he looked angry. You little brat, have you forgotten that you tried to do something to my grandson when you were in the capital of 7 Waters? Now, it's time to make amends. Don't you still renege on your debt first? Garp still broods over this matter. This made Aokiji feel helpless. Okay, Vice Admiral Garp, I owe you both grandpa and grandson. Just tell me, what do you want me to do? I see. Aokiji stretched his arms, stood up from the sun lounger, and twisted his arms, but still couldn't hide the smell of salted fish from his body. Boy, today I will let you in touch with a brand new practical combat technique. Garp looked deeply at Layfon, smiling broadly. What practical skills? Layfon looked a little curious. Let me sell it. First of all, how much do you know about Logia Devil Fruit? Garp stopped Layfon from asking. Logia Devil Fruit. Isn't that the ability to elementalize and be immune to all physical attacks? Layfon thought for a while, and blurted out without thinking too much. The biggest feature of Logia is naturally elementalization, which can be immune to all physical attacks. Certainly, the physical attack here can only be realized without the prerequisites of Seastone and Armed Color, and also without touching the sea water. Immune to all physical attacks. If there is the intervention of the above three energy factors, then the argument of being immune to all physical attacks is naturally untenable. Seastone and seawater, these two substances, are always the nemesis of demon fruit power. Even Logia is no exception. And exclude the two, Armed Color has become the only way to deal with capable people. Yes, Logia ability users are immune to all physical attacks. From the looks of it, your kid has a deep understanding of ability users. Garp's eyes twinkled and his tone seemed meaningful. Then, he pointed to Aokiji beside him. Although looking at the sea, the number of Logia ability users is very rare. But there will still be some. For example, Aokiji is a kid, he is a Logia ability user, a frozen fruit ability user. He has the characteristics of a Logia ability user. Immune to all physical attacks. Any physical attack, such as bullets, cannonballs, blades, etc., and similar attack methods will be completely ineffective against Logia ability users, and they will not be able to hurt the ability users at all. These attacks will penetrate the body of the Logia ability user, so they will not be able to cause the slightest influence or interference on the ability user itself. Paused. Garp smiled and asked, since you have a good understanding of Logia ability users, then I don't need to introduce too much. Next, let's go directly to the topic. Advertisement. Let me ask you again. Apart from seastone and seawater, what other means can cause people to injure Logia ability users? I've introduced it to you before. Don't tell the old man that you have already forgotten what the old man said at that time. If this is the case, the old man will have to let you taste the iron fist of the old man full of love. Speaking of which, a dangerous smile appeared on Garp's face. Armament hockey. Layfon didn't need to think too long, and could answer directly. Even before he mastered the armed color, he understood it clearly. To deal with Logia, except for seastone, there are only armed colors. As for attacking Logia users with seawater, Layfon doesn't think that he can possess the ability to control seawater. Yes, it's armament hockey. Garp laughed and nodded in agreement. That's right, other than seastone and seawater. The sea can hurt a Logia-capable person, only a strong person with armament hockey. You brat, it seems that you haven't forgotten all the old master's teachings to you. Anyway, you still remember some basic knowledge. It's not in vain that the old man has painstakingly taught you strictly. Hearing this, Layfon couldn't help but roll his eyes, speechless. Say something, old man, when did you teach me strictly? X. Did you teach conquerors? Or, did you teach swordsmanship? Or did you teach marine 6 styles again? These, how can there be the shadow of your teaching? You are afraid you are living in a dream 183. It's really admirable to talk big without blinking your eyes. Still strictly taught. You are always bragging about not drafting. Feelings are according to what you said, that is to say. We have the strength we have today, all thanks to your strict teaching. When something comes to your old mouth, it always feels that the meaning has changed. Layfon felt contemptuous. So, old man, what are you trying to say? After calming down a bit, Layfon asked directly again. He doesn't want to continue playing riddles with Garp. Playing riddles like this, I don't know how much time I will waste. This one, which I want you to get in touch with, is a brand new actual combat technique. Looking at the sea, the ability that can be said to be a high-end combat method is armament hockey. Let you learn the means to deal with Logia ability users. Looking at the sea, although the number of Logia ability users is rare. But in order to avoid it, you will have no power to fight back when you encounter Logia ability users in the future. The old man can only let you learn to arm in advance. In this way, when you encounter a Logia-capable user, you will not be in a state of passive defense, and you will not be able to hurt a single hair of the opponent. All in all, armed color is a fighting method that must be mastered to become a strong man. And today, you need to start learning how to use armament hockey. How is it? Boy, are you surprised by your mood at the moment? Surprised. Excited. This is armament hockey. As long as you master the armed color, you can go everywhere in the Grand Line. It is considered that you have the initial strength and means to protect yourself. Garp said whatever was on his mind. Let me learn armed colors. Layfon froze for a moment, looking unexpected. Right. Before Layfon could respond, Garp then ordered to Aokiji next to him, Aokiji kid, this kid's armament hockey, I will leave it to you to teach. I think you shouldn't have. Opinion. Hearing this, Aokiji waved his hands helplessly. Vice Admiral Garp, I don't seem to have the right to refuse. You are acquainted. Garp smiled. So, old man, you mean it. Let Aokiji Admiral teach me armament hockey. Layfon looked at Garp and Aokiji beside him strangely. Say, guys, are you serious? Sure, no kidding. Let Aokiji Admiral teach yourself to arm color. No way. Are you right? Advertisement chapter 125. What is armed color? You cut me with a knife. Open black lens bracket 6/7 for customization. Close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Layfon looked a little confused. Is there really such a coincidence? Myself, just getting started with armament hockey. At this moment, old man Garp, is he going to let Aokiji Admiral teach himself the color of arms? At this point in time, it would be too deadly to strangle. But myself, do I really need Aokiji's teaching? Of course not. What a joke. I have already started armament hockey successfully. What can I ask Aokiji to teach me? What can Aokiji teach himself? Layfon's mind was a little confused, and he stared at Garp and Aokiji with wide eyes. By the way, old man Garp, it's too early for you to be happy. Really, you didn't understand the situation clearly, so you helped me arrange things here. I have to say, it's really hard for you to get old. But I really don't need Aokiji's teaching. Armed color. I have mastered it myself. Isn't it just a waste of time to learn the weapon color of a hammer? Old man, Layfon was about to speak. Aren't you very excited? I am so excited that I can't speak. Old man, I have worked so hard to let a dignified Admiral of Headquarters teach you the master of armament hockey. Who has this kind of treatment before? Don't worry, Aokiji is a little weaker, but he is quite proficient in the grasp of armament hockey. It is more than enough to teach you. Garp directly organized Layfon's speech and said with a smile on his face. A little weaker in strength. The corner of Aokiji's mouth twitched. Vice Admiral Garp, you always speak sharply and don't give any face. After all, I am also an Admiral of Headquarters, but according to you, I was evaluated as a bit weaker. But Aokiji didn't dare to refute. Compared with Garp, Aokiji's strength is still inferior. Furthermore, in front of Garp, Aokiji always has an invisible pressure. It seems that during the time period of Vice Admiral, I was blasted by Garp too many times, which caused a psychological shadow. No, that's not what I want to say. Layfon shook his head. I know. Garp smiled, as if everything was under control, and then continued to interrupt Layfon. I understand what you want to say, and I know all your worries. The old man believes. With your kid's terrifying talent, you want to learn armament hockey thoroughly. It can be as fast as a month, or as slow as 3 months, and you will definitely be able to learn the basics of armament hockey. I still have this little confidence in you. Based on what I know about you, and a preliminary conservative estimate, the time it takes for your kid to learn armament hockey should be between 1 and 2 months. Garp gave a confident expression. Looking at this posture, it seems that he has already grasped what Layfon wants to say, all in the heart of the king. Layfon was speechless for a moment. Old man, you have no idea what I'm trying to say. Looking at you like this, it seems that everything is under control. You master the fart. Okay, kid, don't talk much. Let Aokiji, a brat, explain to you what armament hockey is. Armament hockey, and how to cultivate it to the beginning. Don't waste too much time. Hurry up, both of you prepare yourself. Garp patted Aokiji on the shoulder, smiling. All right, I really owe you both, grandpa and grandson. Aokiji twisted his arm. His face was as lazy and salty as ever, but he still restrained his laziness a little bit, with a trace of seriousness. In fact, Garp's armed color is countless times higher than Aokiji's. It stands to reason. Garp's mastery of armed colors is so much higher than that of Aokiji, it should be up to him to teach Layfon himself. But Garp still insisted on letting Aokiji teach Layfon. The reason is because ability to leave. As a Logia-capable person, Aokiji set an example to let Layfon personally experience the effect and function of armament hockey. Advertisement. Such teaching will obviously be more intuitive. That's what Garp means. Let Layfon witness, experience, and face the situation of a Logia-capable person. This is why Garp deliberately let Layfon go through this situation, and there is no way to face the sense of powerlessness of a Logia ability user. Thereby, only then will it arise from the bottom of my heart, and I am extremely eager to learn the belief of armament hockey. With this conviction, Garp thought. With Layfon's terrifying talents, he will definitely be able to master the armed color in no time. This is the original intention of Garp. It's also the main reason why, it's not him who teaches Layfon's armed colors. Only by letting this kid truly feel the despair and deep powerlessness of being dominated by a Logia-capable person can he understand it more clearly. Armament hockey, how effective it is in battle. Especially, in the confrontation with Logia ability users, it will not be unilaterally in a passive defensive state. Only in this way can this kid's terrifying potential and talent be stimulated. A person with Logia ability, fighting against a person who doesn't even know how to arm, without the help of seastone and seawater. What a terrifying gap there is between the two sides. Basically, a Logia-capable user is absolutely invincible. There is absolutely no possibility of defeating a Logia-capable user without someone who has mastered armament hockey. Garp's eyes twinkled. All he wanted was for Layfon to feel it. The despair of being dominated by Logia-capable users. Before mastering armament hockey, any means are basically ineffective against Logia ability users. Garp thinks. When Layfon feels the gap with the Logia ability user, the other party must be able to understand that in fact, his own strength is relatively insignificant in the sea, and he is not so tyrannical. These are what Garp wants Layfon to feel. It is a timely correction, Layfon's mentality. Avoid Layfon being defiant and too arrogant to take the rest of the monsters of the sea into consideration. Boy, you have to work harder. Garp looked at Layfon expectantly. It can be seen from this. In order to cultivate Layfon, Garp spent so much thought. It can be described as a real painstaking effort. At this time, Pokuto, Kebi, and the others seemed to have finished their training, and came to Garp's side, curious about what was about to happen. When learned, Layfon was about to learn how to practice armament hockey. Kebi and the others were stunned on the spot. What, Mr. Layfon, are you ready to practice armament hockey? Kebi and Belumbo stared wide-eyed, looking at Layfon with shock and admiration. They're new to Marine 6 styles. And Layfon has already begun to take over the armed color. This strong contrast made the slight sense of superiority that the two of them had just obtained from the training instantly crushed to nothing. The gap is too big. There is no comparison. Good guy. Even I haven't been able to practice armed color. Layfon, what a monster. Pokuto couldn't help but slander in his heart. Standing here, he felt a little ashamed of himself. How humble, being crushed in all aspects by a child who was only 7 years old. This taste is really indescribable for Pokuto. But compared to the first time, Pokuto has obviously prepared a lot now, but it doesn't seem too shocking and horrifying. From Layfon's body, are there still few shocking things that happen to the world? Anyway, Pokuto didn't run into each other once or twice. Nature. Pokuto was already a little numb from the shock. Now that Layfon is about to practice armed color, he will not be surprised at all. Monsters are always different. Okay, let's get started. Advertisement. Aokiji looked at Layfon, his expression became serious and focused. Although he couldn't hide the lazy expression on his face, compared to the beginning, it was obvious that he was much more serious about his emotions and state. You, just do whatever you want. Layfon opened his mouth and was speechless for a while. Things are going well, and it has developed to the point where it is now. This surprised Layfon. I wanted to explain. I never thought that I would be interrupted by the old man Garp. This made Layfon very depressed. Before practicing armament hockey, the first thing to understand in detail is armament hockey, what kind of power it is. Aokiji gave a brief introduction. Not only in Layfon, but also in the surrounding Pokuto, Kebi and others. In general, it is preliminary to popularize the concept of armament hockey to everyone present. Armament hockey can enhance personal defense, allowing people to use the power of the body out of thin air to produce a layer of invisible armor. It can also evolve into attack power, and then compete with demon fruit power. Among them, the most important point is the most important feature of the armed color. It can make people have the body of someone who can touch the Logia fruit. Before mastering armament hockey, it is basically impossible to touch the entity of a Logia ability user out of thin air. Because a Logia-capable user is immune to any and all physical attacks. Quote. As for armament hockey, people can do it and touch the entity of the ability user. Naturally, it can also launch an attack on the Logia ability user. Of course, there is a misunderstanding here, let me correct it with you here. Armament hockey can only touch the entity of the capable person, but it cannot make the capable person unable to activate the ability like Seastone. So, don't confuse the two. The use of armament hockey, in addition to blessing the fists of one's own body and other places, can also be attached to objects. Just like the blade in the sword hero's hand can be extended by armament hockey. The power of the armed force is covered on the blade, so that the blade can be used to hit the body of the Logia-capable user. With the introduction of Aokiji, everyone present began to have a more or less understanding of armament hockey. Pokuto has already known about armed colors. Only. With the introduction of Aokiji, Kebi and Beru can feel more exactly how magical and powerful armament hockey is. Of course, this time, the main target of Aokiji's teaching is not the two of them. Even Marine 6 styles can't fully learn the basics, and they are not qualified to touch the armed colors. Letting them practice armed color prematurely will cause irreversible damage to their bodies, leaving behind hidden dangers. These hidden dangers will be infinitely magnified as time accumulates. Finally, although it is not death, it will cause the life of the body to be exhausted, and the strength will not be preserved, and it will become a cripple who is more fragile than ordinary people. Similar examples have appeared many times in Marine. That's why there is a strong request in Marine, are you alright, that only by learning Marine 6 styles can you get in touch with the rules of two-color hockey. It is to prevent premature contact with two-color hockey, causing damage to one's body. Although it is undeniable that practicing two-color hockey may allow one's own strength to be improved by leaps and bounds in a short period of time. But within a few years, their bodies will face the doom of a complete collapse. This is not worth the candle. I say this, you may not be able to clearly appreciate the utility of armament hockey from my literal introduction. For example, now you take a knife and chop me first. Aokiji didn't care about Kebi's state, and his eyes were always fixed on Layfon. Respectively, the hardened winding and the internal damage. In this way, you can also deepen your knowledge and understanding of armed colors faster. After these brief introductions, in the next time, I will properly cooperate with you to fight, so that you will have a deeper understanding of the armed color. Aokiji still had that lazy, nonchalant expression on his face. Therefore, to practice two-color hockey, you have to go round and round. Let me first let you feel the impact of your attack on a Logia ability user without the blessing of armament hockey. Therefore, paused. What is armed color? Armament hockey, there are 4 ways to use it. Aokiji thought for a while, and then continued to make statements in a circular manner. In this way, you can have a deeper understanding, Shin personally experienced. Before you learn armament hockey, what a terrifying existence the Logia abilities represent in this sea. Advertisement Chapter 126 Aokiji. Do your best, and cut me a few more times. Open black lens bracket 7/7 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Logia Devil Fruit, what does it mean in this sea? Strength. Extremely strong. The terrifying power at the top of the pyramid. Without seastone weapons, and without mastering armament hockey, how can one person deal with a Logia-capable user? Disaster. Very difficult. It is harder than climbing to the sky. It can even be said that there is basically no possibility, unless there is a situation where the fruit abilities restrain each other. Or, take advantage of Devil Fruit's birth defects. Otherwise, a person who has not mastered armament hockey has no possibility of defeating a person with Logia ability. What will be the final result of the battle between the two sides? Of course, the Logia ability user blasts the opponent. Even if the Logia ability user stands still, the opponent basically has nothing to do. Because the biggest characteristic of Logia ability users is immune to all physical attacks. Just this point is enough to make Logia ability users invincible. If you can't even touch the body of someone with Logia abilities, how can you hurt them? Therefore, in the battle between the two sides, even if the Logia ability user does not make a move throughout the whole process, the opponent will be exhausted. And this is exactly what Aokiji wants Layfon to feel. Led by example, used as a demonstration, let Layfon feel. A person who has not mastered armament hockey will be so weak and desperate when facing a Logia-capable user without seastone as a weapon. This, Aokiji thinks, then Layfon will be able to deeply understand. This kind of despair will definitely be deeply remembered in this life. Look out to sea. Most first-time pirates will experience similar things, the fear of being fully dominated by Logia demon fruit power. This is the tragedy of not mastering armament hockey. Once you encounter a Logia-capable person, you will be unilaterally crushed and defeated. Aokiji Admiral, are you sure you want me to kill you with a knife? Layfon looked at Aokiji strangely. Yes, let you experience it for yourself. With your current strength, if you meet a Logia-capable user, what kind of situation will you be in? Aokiji nodded. Before he played against Layfon 937, it was just for fun. In fact, he didn't even use his fruit ability too deeply. That's why Layfon has been fighting him for so long. In fact, at that time Aokiji didn't need to be so troublesome, he just stood still and was immune to all attacks from Layfon. It should also make you feel better. When I was in the capital of Seven Waters, I didn't take it seriously at all. I didn't even use the fruit ability. Now, let you feel the despair of being dominated by the ability of Logia Devil Fruit. Aokiji thought to himself, $7 per 17, it finally fell into the palm of my hand. Wasn't it crazy before? It's my turn to teach you a lesson. Do not. Wrong. How can this be called a lesson? That makes sense, Bean. With this mentality in mind, the smile on Aokiji's face is a bit meaningful. Finally got the chance to deal with this kid with justice. Aside, after listening to Aokiji's speech, Garp also showed a satisfied smile. Aokiji, the brat, really won my heart. The old man just wanted Layfon to experience what it would be like to meet a Logia-capable person before armament hockey. Never thought about it. Aokiji actually did so knowingly. This made Garp feel very relieved. Boy, feel the horror of a Logia ability user. Although your strength is not weak anymore, you still seem insignificant when you look at this sea. Mastering armament hockey is just the beginning and threshold. It means that you have the qualifications to challenge and collide with Logia ability users. But it does not mean that you can easily defeat any Logia ability users after mastering the armed color. Although your kid's talent is indeed terrifying, the old man thinks that it is appropriate to give you a little blow. Prevent you from being too arrogant, lest you encounter a Logia-capable person in the future, and foolishly think that you can fight against the opponent. Garp was thinking a lot. Advertisement. Gradually. All to see. Layfon slowly took out a well-made samurai sword from his waist. The blade is sharp, reflecting the golden sunlight falling from the sky. A faint smell of blood spread from the blade in all directions. Sharp. The monstrous edge, looming, radiates from Layfon's body. Belongs to the edge of the swordsman. Show your sharpness. The sharp glare makes people feel infinite oppression. Around, Pokato, Kebi, and Berumeber were swept over by the terrifying edge released by Layfon, and the majestic sense of oppression squeezed the cells of their bodies, making them stiff and unable to move. Mr. Layfon's strength. It seems that it has become a lot stronger. Just this aura alone is terrifying beyond imagination. Kirby's lips trembled, and he looked at Layfon's figure in awe. From this aura, he felt it. Layfon's strength is obviously much stronger than before. What a horrible monster. Pokato couldn't help being moved. Even Garp, when he was affected by this breath, looked at Layfon in surprise, complaining in his heart. The brat, it seems that it has really become stronger. Moreover, more than 1.5 stars have become stronger. How many days have passed? I just went to the capital of Seven Waters, how did my strength become so much stronger? This baffled Garp. Finally, he can only attribute all this to Layfon's terrifying monster-like talent. Only this explanation can be accepted by Garp. Aokiji Admiral, be careful, I'm going to kill you. Layfon looked at Aokiji in front of him with a strange expression. You can just shoot, you don't have to worry too much. I will not evade any of your attacks. I will stand here. If you can hit me, I will lose. I will let you understand why people with Logia abilities are called invincible in the sea. Devil Fruit. Why is Logia Devil Fruit so rare in the sea, and the price is so precious? It is because Logia Devil Fruit can make people elemental. Immune to any physical attack. This is one of the most precious places of Logia Devil Fruit. It is also the biggest feature of Logia Devil Fruit. Aokiji slowly introduced with a confident face. Immune to all physical attacks. This alone is enough for Aokiji to stand in front of Layfon without needing to move. Even so, Aokiji is also confident, he will make Layfon feel hopeless. The moment when you are helpless against any attack. Aokiji could imagine how desperate Layfon's mood will be. How can a person who has not mastered the armed color deal with a person with Logia ability? Except for seastone and seawater, there is basically no other way. Boy, it's your turn to be hit hard by me. Want to deal with Logia ability users? You're still too tender. Aokiji smiled and played beef. He doesn't need to make a move. He felt that as long as he stood here motionless and unilaterally endured the attack from Layfon, it would be enough for Layfon to feel the terror of the Logia ability user. Then, Aokiji continued to explain without hesitation. As we all know, there are 4 ways to use armament hockey. The first one is called hardening. That is to say, use the armed color to cover the whole body to form an indestructible armor for the body. It is hardened and mainly used to defend against the enemy's attack. As for the second type, it is called entanglement. The meaning is very simple, it is to entangle the power of armament hockey in the fist, so that the fists of one's own will become harder, and it can also burst out terror that is dozens of times stronger than usual strength. The third type is called external release. The armed color external release can be blessed on the weapon in hand. For example, the blades in the hands of many swordsmen can be armed at any time, which can not only increase the cutting power of the swordsman, but also pose a huge threat to Logia users. In addition, when the sword master collides with the sword master, they will release the armed color and put it on the blade. Prevent the blade in your hand from suffering too much damage during the battle. With the blessing of armament hockey, you can avoid the possibility that the blade in your hand will suddenly break in battle. You know, in battle, once the weapon is broken, how much threat is it to a swordsman? This goes without saying in metaphor. Therefore, most swordsmen will regard armament hockey as the most useful practical skill besides swordsmanship. The fourth way of using armed color is internal destruction. It can penetrate weapons, allowing the power of armed color to directly destroy the interior of objects, achieving the effect of destroying the internal organs of the enemy's body. Introduction of Aokiji. From shallow to deep. Progressive cycle. Let everyone around, including Layfon, have a very intuitive understanding of armament hockey. Advertisement. Okay, now, take the knife in your hand. Facing my body, cut it down. No mercy. You must not hold back. Otherwise, I will underestimate you. Aokiji looked at Layfon. Cut it. Boy, if you can cut my body, I will lose. It doesn't matter if I kneel down on the spot and worship you as my teacher. Haven't mastered the armed color and want to deal with Logia ability users. What a joke. #T. This is the beginning of your despair. Boy, enjoy the comfort of this moment. Because next, you will feel boundless powerlessness and despair. Fine. Layfon walked up to Aokiji, and slowly pointed the samurai sword in his hand at Aokiji's forehead. Sharp blade, flashing cold light. Then, the blade cuts through the air directly and cuts down directly. No hesitation. No sloppiness at all. Very decisive. Call out. Very fast. The blade directly penetrated Aokiji's body. It was as if it hit a cloud of air, but it didn't touch Aokiji's body at all. Aokiji's body split from the head and turned into 2 halves, but he still had a smile on his face, making this scene extraordinarily weird and austere. Aokiji Admiral, have you been split open? Kebi's throat was dry, and his expression was a little terrified. But on second thought, suddenly something is wrong. Anyway, Aokiji is a majestic Admiral of Headquarters. How could it be so easy to get hurt? Furthermore, this is a Logia-capable user. Logia ability user. Immune to all physical attacks. Kirby thought to himself. It's just an illusion. As if hearing Kebi's question, Hokkaido explained from the side. Compared to Kebi and Belumbo, who are stunned, Hokkaido certainly has a good understanding of Logia ability users. Anyway, he also followed Garp for more than 10 years. Whether it is Logia Devil Fruit or armament hockey, Hokkaido has a certain degree of cognition. Look, Kebi, Aokiji Admiral's body, no bloodline shed. Beru Meber went on to add. If the body of a normal person is split open, it is naturally impossible for the bloodline to flow. So, obviously, as Colonel Pakuto said just now. Try best, as if to verify the thoughts in their hearts. This, purely an illusion, does not mean that Aokiji was actually split. Layfon, who was holding a sharp samurai sword in his hand, had an increasingly weird expression on his face. Aokiji still had a smile on his face that everything was under control. Looking at Layfon in front of him, he spoke again with a confident expression. It can be seen very clearly that Aokiji's body is slowly healing, like a block of ice that has been split, and is constantly beginning to reconnect. Aokiji quickly restored his seemingly damaged body to its original appearance, and even the clothes on his body did not show any signs of damage. I see. Instantly. Now. Words just fell. Then. Aokiji Admiral, are you sure you want me to shoot with all my strength? Don't hold back, remember. At a speed visible to the naked eye. Use all your strength and slash at me a few more times. Go on, don't hold back. In fact, Aokiji's body is completely unscathed, there is no injury at all. Advertisement Chapter 127 I have never seen such a request in my life. Open black lens bracket 1/8 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Let yourself go all out. Are you sure? Layfon looked at Aokiji in front of him with a strange face. It can be clearly seen that at this moment Aokiji has a confident expression on his face, as if everything is under control, with a strategizing posture. Certainly. You do your best, just use your strongest moves to deal with me. If that's not the case, it's pointless. Aokiji naturally nodded without hesitation, full of confidence. How can he be afraid of an attack from someone who doesn't have a weapon? Do not forget, he's a Logia capable. How can a person with dignified Logia ability care about the physical attacks of ordinary people? As long as it does not touch the seawater and does not carry seastone, all attacks will make no difference in Aokiji's eyes. Anyway, the biggest feature of Logia is immunity to all physical attacks. It is precisely because of this that in Aokiji's eyes, no matter what methods Layfon uses in front of him, he can't hurt a single hair on his body. 7. Next, it's the beginning of your nightmare. When you find out that you have shot with all your strength, but you can't even hurt my body standing here. Will your mentality completely collapse? I am standing here, but you have never been able to cause me any injuries. Aokiji smiled playfully. He changed his usual lazy posture of salted fish, and looked very expectant and enthusiastic. Obviously, he really wanted to see Layfon's deflated and powerless appearance. This scene is really exciting. I'm already satisfied to let a genius monster like you be deflated. Aokiji thought to himself. Do you really want me to do my best? Are you sure, Aokiji Admiral? If it hurts you, it will be bad. Layfon's eyes twinkled, and he held a katana sword. The monstrous sharpness wrapped around his body, unleashed and shrouded in all directions. It brought a majestic sense of oppression to everyone present. Hurt me. You are really considerate. Aokiji laughed dumbly, but don't worry, don't worry. No matter what, you can't hurt me. If you can hurt me, I don't mind, I will kneel down and worship you as my teacher on the spot. Certainly. This is without using the seastone weapon. Besides, there is no second possibility for you to hurt my body. You don't even say whether you can meet me. You still want to hurt me. You think a lot, kid. But I can tell you very accurately that your worries are unnecessary. I am a Logia capable user. How did you hurt me? Don't you really think that your blade can cause substantial damage to me? Don't be kidding. The more he talked, the more Aokiji couldn't help shaking his head and laughing. He was really amused by what Layfon said. Hurt yourself. Is it possible? Do you really think that your identity as a Logia ability user is just a display? Joke. Logia ability users are immune to all physical attacks. Is it true that this is fake? Look at the sea. How can someone who has not mastered armament hockey hurt himself? Seastone. Except for seastone and seawater, there is no second possibility. This reminds Aokiji of the time when he used the Devil Fruit ability to dominate the Straw Hat Pirates for a time. Is there anything the other party can do about it? There is no way. At that time, it was the first time that the Straw Hat Pirates faced despair. No seastone weapons. Not armed. Therefore, facing Aokiji, all I can feel is deep despair. Relax 100 hearts and attack me with all your strength. If you can hurt me, I will worship you as my teacher on the spot. Aokiji had a confident expression on his face. Advertisement. Aside, listening to the conversation between Layfon and Aokiji, the expressions of Yaipu and Pokato became a little weird. Layfon imp, where did you find the courage to say that to Aokiji? Who gave you the courage to give you the illusion that you can cut Aokiji? Garp couldn't help complaining in his heart. I really think too much. Want to cut Aokiji? How high is this difficulty factor? It's just as difficult as climbing to the sky. At least, in Garp's eyes, the possibility of Layfon trying to hurt Aokiji is close to zero. Layfon has no possibility of hurting Aokiji except having seastone weapon. But Layfon's weapon is obviously not seastone. Of this, Garp can be sure. In this way, how can Layfon hurt Aokiji? Will you hurt Aokiji with your beliefs and dreams? This kid, there are too many things. I don't know how he dared to say these things to Aokiji. Anyway, Aokiji is also a dignified Admiral of Headquarters. Besides, he's a powerful Logia user. Layfon, this brat, he actually utters such wild words that he thinks he can cut Aokiji with the knife in his hand. Garp couldn't help shaking his head. Suddenly he thought that it was a very correct choice to let Aokiji teach armament hockey to Layfon today. It's also time for this kid to see how strong a person with great strength is. And how severe and desperate will a person who doesn't know how to use armament hockey face when facing a Logia-capable person. This is self-evident. Garp wants it. It is to let Layfon deeply feel the gap between himself and the top people in the sea. In this way, presumably Layfon must have deeply realized that his own strength is actually in this sea, and he belongs to the most insignificant group of weak people. In the past few days, this kid is still too inflated. Properly, press it. Arrogance is not a good habit. Garp stared silently at the center of the forward deck. Colonel Pokato, Mr. Layfon, is there really no possibility of harming Aokiji Admiral? Kebi couldn't help asking. Seeing Aokiji standing in place, motionless, letting Layfon attack on the opposite side. Even Kebi felt the strong sense of oppression coming from the Logia ability user. Could it be? They really can only lose without a fight against those with Logia abilities. If you can't even touch the body of the capable person, how can you defeat the opponent? Doesn't that mean, someday, if they encounter someone with Logia ability, they can only be beaten unilaterally, and they cannot fight back? There is no possibility. Pokuto shook his head gently, directly affirming the many conjectures in Kebi's mind. Indeed, a person who has not mastered armament hockey, without a seastone weapon, does not have any possibility of defeating a Logia-capable person. In his many years of experience, Pokuto has never seen such a rare example. Isn't that, even if Aokiji Admiral stands still and allows Mr. Layfon to attack, it is impossible for Mr. Layfon to cause any injuries to Aokiji. That is to say, Mr. Layfon, this battle will definitely be lost. And, will it be very tragic to lose to Aokiji Admiral on the opposite side? Even Aokiji Admiral didn't need to launch any attack from the beginning to the end. Thus, to wear Mr. Layfon to death abruptly. Kirby's throat was dry. That's about it. However, to be more precise, it's Layfon who wants to touch Aokiji Admiral's body, but can't do it at all. If you can't even touch your body, let me ask you, how can you hurt yourself? If you can't even touch your body, it is nonsense to want to hurt Aokiji Admiral. Pokuto said in a more affirmative tone. Is this the horror of Logia ability users? The eyes of Kebi and Belumbo were full of shock. This moment, only then did they realize it deeply. What a terrifying existence a Logia-capable user is. No wonder. In the Grand Line, any Logia-capable user is enough to dominate most places, and no one dares to disobey their majesty. Because a person with Logia ability symbolizes absolute invincibility. Advertisement. Unless, meet people who have mastered the armed color, or have seastone weapons. Otherwise, users with Logia abilities are basically invincible. Let's start. Aokiji looked at Layfon, and opened his mouth. Fine, Aokiji Admiral, this is what you asked for, not what I want to do. Layfon said with a strange face. I've never seen such a request. How many knives did you actually let yourself go all out to chop? That being the case, then, I would be more respectful than obedient. Aokiji Admiral, you are ready. Because next, I really have to be serious. Try best. The kind that doesn't show any sympathy. So, Aokiji Admiral, if you're not serious, a little careless, you could really get hurt. Moreover, he was still seriously injured. Bring it on. At this time, Aokiji, who hadn't realized the seriousness of the matter, was still in high spirits, looked at Layfon confidently, and stood motionless. He was looking forward to seeing it. When Layfon exhausted all means and was unable to cause any slight injury to himself standing there, how desperate would the opponent feel? Thinking of this, Aokiji couldn't wait. Then, let's begin. Layfon's eyes narrowed slightly, shining brightly. Sharp. With monstrous sharpness and majestic release, it swept all directions. Layfon slowly raised the samurai sword in his hand, the blade gleamed coldly, and reflected a dazzling halo under the sunlight, as if the temperature of the air in the surrounding area had dropped a little, making it a little colder and harsher. The coldness breeds and spreads throughout the audience. Aokiji Admiral, this is your strong request, let me seriously chop you a few times. It's the first time I've heard such a request in my life. However, since you, as an elder, have already made such a strong request. As a junior, of course I dare not refuse to let you get what you want. Layfon smiled. Immediately afterwards, he thought about it. A warm current began to flow slowly in the body. Strength. Vigorous power flows from the body and spreads to the limbs of the body. This force, like a tide, began to rush towards Layfon's right arm. The entire right arm was filled with explosive and violent power in an instant. Instantly, the power flowing continuously in the right arm was about to solidify, overflowing crazily from Layfon's right arm, and gradually the power began to extend and wrap around the samurai sword held in the right hand. The strong power spread from the right arm, and finally wrapped around the blade completely. Let the coldness emanating from the blade be more piercing. Standing in front of Layfon, Aokiji suddenly had an ominous premonition in his heart. Not good. Dense. This moment, it feels like. A sense of oppression spread from Layfon's body. Omen of great misfortune 6. This moment, do not know why, fierce. Layfon seemed to be a different person. Compared with him a moment ago, his aura was more oppressive, and he was like a completely different person. Aokiji's right eyelid was beating crazily, as if it was constantly warning him. Not so good. This oppressive feeling enveloped all the people around. Not quite right. The aura emanating from Layfon's body became more vigorous and fierce. Advertisement Chapter 128 It's not good. Aokiji suddenly expressed panic. Open black lens bracket 2/8 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Not good. Very bad. Aokiji suddenly had a strong sense of foreboding. The current development of the situation seems to be not quite right with the trend I expected. The trend I expected was not like this. What happened? Aokiji felt palpitations. I don't know why, I suddenly feel panicked. Can anyone explain to me what's going on here? Feeling for Mao. The spine is a little chilly. Scalp a little tingling. The plot I expected didn't develop like this. Aokiji suddenly thought with some horror. The majestic aura was released from Layfon's body, spreading rapidly and sweeping in all directions, completely covering the huge deck. Including Aokiji, was also touched by this majestic momentum. Although this feeling of oppression, for Aokiji who is the Admiral of Headquarters, it is not much oppression at all. But what makes Aokiji scary is that this oppressive feeling comes from the Layfon in front of me. Layfon, who is only 7 years old and is holding a samurai sword at the moment. It is the source of this sense of terror and oppression. This kid, Aokiji's throat was dry, and the smile on his face suddenly stiffened. His confident expression has all disappeared without a trace, turning into endless astonishment, dullness, and sluggishness. What's going on? Can't understand. Aokiji's mind became a little confused. Original. Aokiji smiled on June 17th, and was full of confidence. He had a strategizing and decisive victory thousands of miles away, with an expression of everything under control. However, at this moment, the expression on Aokiji's face could no longer capture similar emotional waves. Cold. The piercing cold wind hits the face, making Aokiji, who is a Logia-capable user, feel the chilly wind and the feeling of chills on the back. I am riding a horse, but I have the ability to frozen fruit. A frozen man. Unexpectedly, I still feel the wind blowing. Aokiji was a little confused. His mind went blank, his eyes stared at Layfon with suspicion and horror. I always feel that the Layfon in front of me has become different. So much has changed. The Layfon at the previous moment was still unable to give Aokiji such a sense of oppression. But at this moment, Layfon seemed to be a different person. This oppressive feeling is dozens of times stronger than the previous moment, and it may not be correct. What happened to this kid? Why do I have a bad feeling? Could it be this wave? Am I really shooting myself in the foot? No way. Thinking that I am a majestic Admiral of Headquarters, I would lift a rock and shoot myself in the foot. Such a stupid behavior. Would it happen to me? It's impossible. I am a Logia-capable user. You little brat, what are you using to deal with me? It actually makes me feel windy. Aokiji's expression became a little surprised. There was a sharp contrast with him who was full of confidence before. The oppressive momentum like a surging ocean current swept across every corner in all directions. Everyone affected by this aura changed their faces, and the expressions on their faces changed very quickly. Here, what's the situation? This momentum. Too horrible. Compared to just now, it's more than 10 times more terrifying. More than 10 times, at least dozens of times. Mr. Layfon, it's suddenly terrible. Under the pressure of this momentum, Kebi only felt shivering. Fragile, so fragile, he felt that his fragile body couldn't even resist the oppression of this momentum, his legs were weak, and his body was about to be paralyzed to the side. This brat, what's going on? Garp also looked at Layfon in shock. Of course he felt it. At this moment, the aura exuded by Layfon's body is completely different from just now. Advertisement. Different from each other. In terms of strength, it cannot be compared at all. What he couldn't imagine was that these two auras with completely different intensities came from Layfon's body alone. The difference between the previous moment and the next moment is too great. Pairs of shocking eyes gathered on Layfon. At the same time, Layfon, holding a samurai sword, can feel the power emerging from himself, flowing from his right arm to the samurai sword in his right hand. This force is armament hockey. That's right. This moment. Layfon uses armed colors. Now that Aokiji has already spoken, to let himself go all out, of course he has to go all out. Isn't this to make the other party get what they want? It comes from the elder Aokiji's request. As a junior, I dare not refuse. So, I'm going to do my best. Aokiji Admiral. Like your request just now, let me seriously cut you a few times, I have never seen it in my life. Layfon narrowed his eyes slightly. Stand still and let me seriously chop a few knives. Then I really mean it. Aokiji Admiral, you must not hide. Who hides whose grandson? That's it. With many thoughts in mind, Layfon's hands moved swiftly. The blade is entwined with monstrous sharpness. Cold. Fierce. The release of breath swept all directions. The faint smell of blood spreads from the blade in Layfon's hand, and with the breeze blowing, it quickly fills and lingers in the air. Cut. Layfon's eyes flashed, and the samurai sword in his hand quickly slashed down. The moment the blade is about to fall, the terrifying and majestic power, which seems to destroy the world, is completely enveloped in the brewing of the blade, and the power is rising steadily, becoming more and more powerful and substantive. Visible to the naked eye, the original sharp blade unexpectedly spread a jet black color, and quickly stained the blade in Layfon's hand, extending continuously. This black color, like ink, emerges from Layfon's right arm, tangles crazily around the blade in his hand. Soon, the ink formed a black armor like black jade, exuding a sharp and icy breath, a layer of indestructible armor tightly wrapped around the blade. This moment, Layfon's offensive, the regiment is truly brewing. Armament hockey armor, fully covering the blade. This is also the third way to use armament hockey that Aokiji just introduced. Armament hockey out. Utilize the power of armed color, and wrap it around the weapon in your hand, so as to increase the hardness, attack power, defense power and other aspects of the weapon. Let the weapon in your hand have the terrifying power of armament hockey. Around. The air temperature plummeted. Get icy. It didn't come from the coldness of Aokiji's body, but purely, the terrifying sharp aura emitted by Layfon made people think that the temperature here seemed to have dropped a lot. The fierce aura, centered on Layfon's body, swept in all directions crazily. Aokiji, who was suddenly flustered, still forcibly comforted himself. I am a Logia-capable user. No matter how strong you are, can you really hurt me? Are you kidding me? It's not a seastone weapon, how could it hurt me? Boy, I really don't believe it, you can really hit me. Joke. Thinking that I am a dignified Logia-capable person, how could I be hacked by you, an ignorant child? Immediately, Aokiji felt relieved. With this thought in mind, he forcibly suppressed the restless thoughts in his heart. You still have to have face as Admiral. Although, Aokiji secretly felt bad. But as a majestic Admiral of Headquarters, how can you go back on what you say when you spit a nail? It is agreed to stand still, let the other party chop a few knives, and stand still. How can I dodge? Is Marine Admiral shameless? Advertisement. Let the Marines around see it, what will they think? Many thoughts flooded into Aokiji's mind. No matter how strong this kid is, as long as he doesn't master armament hockey, he won't be able to hurt a single hair of mine. Before mastering armament hockey, no penultimate swordsmanship will be able to cause any substantial damage to Logia ability users. Boy, today's lesson, I will teach you well. Let you deeply understand. A Logia ability user, what does it mean to a person who has not even learned the color of the weapon, and what a terrifying existence it symbolizes? I hope this lesson will impress you in your life. Aokiji took a deep breath, and recovered a little bit of stability. Think I am a majestic Admiral of Headquarters, and still love a kid. Non-existent. Then, immediately afterwards. Next second. The moment Aokiji didn't react. On the opposite side, the pitch-black blade in Layfon's hand, wrapped in a layer of indestructible black armor, has reached Aokiji's eyes. And, infinitely magnified from Aokiji's eyes. Near. It's getting closer. Potential. This knife seems to be coming to ultimate. The knife flashes. You can only see that the blade is in front of your eyes, and it is not right when magnified 100 times from your pupils. Then, it can be clearly seen that the expression on Aokiji's face has undergone earth-shaking changes at this moment, changing crazily at an extremely exaggerated speed. Stunned, thriller, horrified, many emotions swept across Aokiji's heart. In this scene, the black blade in Layfon's hand fell into Aokiji's pupils, as if forming a heavy object, hitting Aokiji's forehead hard. His head couldn't help buzzing, his thinking was stagnant, his face was dull, and he couldn't help himself. Until this moment, Aokiji really saw clearly. I don't know when it will start. The samurai sword in Layfon's hand turned from its original silver color to a jet-black jade color, as if a layer of armor had been wrapped out of thin air. I step on a horse. Aokiji's mentality exploded on the spot. His eyes widened, his face full of horror and horror. He finally understood. Where did my strong premonition come from? 1.8 When seeing this black knife, Aokiji understood everything. It dawned on him at last. All the sense of crisis comes from this. Black blade. When did the knife in this kid's hand turn black? I am not wrong, right? That layer of black armor wrapped around the blade, could this power be? Feel the fierce force sweeping through your body. Aokiji's complexion experienced huge ups and downs, waves of emotions like surging waves overturned his original mood swings. Okay, no way, is this a hallucination? Anyone who is riding a horse can explain it to me. What's the situation? Aokiji was immediately stunned. Previously, even if Aokiji wants to break his head, he will never be able to predict it. At this moment, this unimaginable scene happened in front of my eyes. All of this is too scary. Shock the world. Shocking. It has seriously subverted Aokiji's cognition and worldview. Vice Admiral Garp, you haven't mentioned any of this to me before. I'm a fool to believe Vice Admiral Garp. As a result, I was cheated by you in my feelings. I regret it at the beginning. The grandpa and grandson actually joined hands to set him a trap. Good guy, I'm on the spot man. Advertisement chapter 129 Did you hit it? Damn, it really hit the mark. Open black lens bracket 3/8 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Woo, armed color. This horse is armament hockey. The black armor wrapped around this kid's blade, isn't this armament hockey? If not, I'll swallow this knife on the spot. Grunt. Aokiji's throat was dry and he couldn't help swallowing. He looked terrified and shocked. Can anyone explain? What the hell is going on here? Armed color. This kid actually knows how to use weapons. What is this for? It's not scientific. The essential. This kid is only 7 years old this year. Why has Mao even mastered the color of the weapon? This is already serious, beyond scientific common sense, and beyond Aokiji's psychological tolerance. Faced with the current situation, Aokiji is going crazy. He couldn't even dream of it. Things have developed to this point. This is incredible. Before that, Yin never reminded him at all. Layfon, the brat, can actually use armament hockey's thing. Not even a single reminder. Do not. Wrong. Rather, Garp hadn't warned him of his intentions at all. Even from the beginning, having him teach Layfon armament hockey this thing, was a trap. Otherwise, for Mao Garp let Layfon, come and ask yourself to arm the color. Obviously this kid, he can use armed colors. And looking at this posture, it is obvious that his attainments are not low. Why did Mao let himself teach armed color? Isn't this just a trap for yourself? Good guy, grandpa and grandson, you set a trap for me, and I foolishly got into it. I thought this was a good opportunity to teach Layfon a lesson. Result: it turned out to be a trap for them to tease me. Aokiji's mentality collapsed on the spot. God, why are you so unfair? Let the grandpa and grandson tease me one after another. Is there any reason for this? Is there any law left? Aokiji's thinking became a mess, a pair of pupils fixed on the approaching blade, covered with a black jade-like armed armor, exuding an extremely fierce and majestic aura. It's getting closer. Feeling this majestic and fierce momentum, Aokiji's mood was still shaken. He finally understood. Why do I always feel that things are not right? From Layfon's body, he actually felt a rare ominous premonition. Emotion. All of this turned out to be Chang. This moment, it was Aokiji who really had a sudden realization, understood the ins and outs of the matter, and also understood where the signs that made him feel uneasy and ominous were. All this comes from the Layfon in front of you. Ominous omen. It turned out to be this kid. Aokiji's right skin was still beating wildly. It's this kid. Is this kid his own omen of great evil? At this point, Aokiji is completely unpredictable even if he really wants to break his head. All this is too shocking to the world. Rao is based on Aokiji's experience, he never imagined that today, he would encounter such a terrible and horrifying thing at this time. Vice Admiral Garp, I've done you a disservice. Aokiji was filled with resentment. Allow yourself to teach your grandchildren. Teaching your grandchildren to arm color. Does your grandson really need to be taught by others about his armed color? What is the situation in front of you? Why is the samurai sword in your grandson's hand covered with black jade-like armor? Isn't this power armament hockey? Or what I just said, the third way to use the armed color, armament hockey is released, covering the blade of the weapon with its power eyes. If you don't have enough attainments and are not familiar enough with the armed color, how can you be so proficient in using armament hockey? Also let the armed color be blessed on the weapon in hand. Really did it, release the armed color. If you don't have a certain level of armed color cultivation, how can you do this? This wave, I'm really ashamed. Aokiji thought sadly. His thoughts turned wildly, and all this was just a momentary lingering in his mind. In fact, advertisement. Layfon's blade is close at hand. Only a few centimeters away. Before the blade arrived, Aokiji could already feel the terrifying edge and sharp aura sweeping his body. Let his cells seem to be swept and shrouded by this terrifying edge. As a Logia ability user, but also a frozen person. At this moment, Aokiji felt a biting chill, which was very rare. It made him feel a little chill down his spine. Back chills. Scalp tingling. Aokiji's pupils watched the blade in front of him keep expanding. Hide. Can't escape. The blade in Layfon's hand has already arrived. Even with Aokiji's strength as the Admiral of Headquarters, it is already impossible to completely avoid Layfon's knife in this situation. He was careless. Yes, Aokiji was too careless. Do not. To be more precise, Aokiji was completely unprepared to avoid Layfon's knife from the very beginning. He has been standing still, just waiting for Layfon's knife. Thus, without any precautions, Aokiji realized that the blade in Layfon's hand was covered with a layer of armed armor at the final critical moment. Nature. Even if it is as strong as Aokiji, it is already powerless revolving heaven, it is impossible to dodge this knife. No matter how strong the strength is, it is impossible to avoid this knife at this critical moment. Unless, Aokiji has the terrifying and amazing speed of Kizaru. But obviously, what Aokiji is best at is not speed. FFLX. Facing Layfon's knife, Aokiji has no way to hide. The majestic Admiral of Headquarters, facing Layfon's knife, can't dodge it. While this is an exaggeration, it is the truth. It can only be said that Aokiji was not mentally prepared, did not have any defensive attitude, and could not realize at all that Dang Feng's blade actually hijacked the armed color. Many factors interfered, making Aokiji present the current predicament. This is really embarrassing. Aokiji looked sad. Aokiji Admiral, you asked me to cut this. Layfon watched Aokiji's complexion change wildly, and an intriguing smile appeared on his face. Like the kind of request you just mentioned. In fact, I've never seen it in my entire life. Worth mentioning. Since you as an elder make such a strong request, as a junior, I will naturally let you get your wish. With this thought in mind, Layfon's katana covered with black armor, the speed did not weaken at all, but became faster and faster. Aim right at Aokiji's shoulder. Just a few inches. Sharp blades cut through the air. Very fast. The knife flashed. Terrifying sword energy arose spontaneously and spread in all directions. Never mind. It's impossible to justify cutting Admiral. The last critical moment. Layfon turned the blade and hit Aokiji's right shoulder hard with the back of the blade. The moment the blade falls. Boom. Terrifying power burst out from the back of the knife in an instant, and it hit Aokiji's right shoulder in an all-round way. Unprepared, Aokiji didn't have any psychological preparations at all, and could only bear the brilliance of this terrifying force abruptly, eroding his body. A terrifying force suddenly came from the right shoulder. Click. The entire right shoulder seemed to be torn apart. Broken bones. Broken directly. Sting. The tingling sensation spreads from the shoulder to the whole body. The majestic power began to erode the body from the shoulders, sweeping across the board. This moment, the so-called Logia Devil Fruit, the so-called elementalization, the so-called immunity to all physical attacks. All of this will be meaningless, will be reduced to nothing, and will have no effect at all. Immune to all physical attacks. Meaningless. In front of this samurai sword covered in black armed armor, the characteristics and advantages of Logia Devil Fruit will also disappear in an instant, and there will be nothing left. Because this is armament hockey. In front of armed color, the biggest advantage of Logia ability users will no longer exist. The so-called immunity to all physical attacks is without the power of armament hockey. Once armament hockey's power spreads to the body of a Logia-capable user, the so-called immunity to physical attacks will become a ridiculous joke. I step on a horse. I'm the Admiral of Headquarters. I'm going to be stabbed by Brad in seconds. I'm dignified Headquarters Admiral, I don't want to lose face. Vice Admiral Garp, advertisement. This time, I really did you a bad job. I hate it. I regret it at the beginning. I shouldn't listen to slander, let alone your old nonsense. I believe in your evil, which makes me, Admiral, lose face. Aokiji resisted the tingling pain in his shoulder, wanting to cry without tears. He suddenly felt, he is a pure idiot. It made people fool around, but I thought happily that this was a good opportunity to teach Layfon a lesson. Unexpectedly. After all, skills are not as good as people. When it comes to conspiracies and tricks, I'm still not good at it. Can't play anyone else at all. Even. And was easily played by a child who was only 7 years old in the palm of his hand. Thinking of this, Aokiji's mood became extraordinarily heavy and sad. Good guy. Even a 7-year-old child can play tricks and tricks so well. And I became this little devil's guinea pig. Hateful. Really hateful. From now on, I will never trust anyone again. This is the consequence of trusting others. Aokiji felt it deeply. For what? People are sinister. Unpredictable. Finally, boom. Aokiji's body was hit by the huge impact of armament hockey blessed by the blade, and the whole person fell to the rear of the warship deck, that is, the direction of the warehouse, and flew tens of meters away in an instant. Finally, it hit the hasty door. After the door was smashed by the body 677, Aokiji fell into the dark warehouse, smashed many objects, and bursts of. There was a deafening bang. Rumble. The door is broken. Countless pieces of sawdust scattered all over the sky. Under this violent turmoil and impact, the entire warship seemed to be completely shaken. Shake, quiver, as if a warship had experienced a small-scale earthquake, whether it was the room, or the kitchen, dining room and other places, they all experienced shaking of varying degrees for a short time. This caused many Marines who were in training to slam their bodies into the side fences one after another. They were in a mess and uncontrollably fell to the corners of different fences. The atmosphere is silent. Weird. Grunt. Witnessed the scene of Aokiji being knocked into the air just now. Pokato, Kebi, and Berumeber, all of them were standing on the edge of the deck railing, their throats rolled, and they swallowed unanimously. I spit. This moment, the expressions of the three of them were almost identical, their eyes staring into the sky. For a while, they couldn't speak, their faces were terrified and stunned, they could only stare blankly at the terrifying scene that happened before them just now. Weird, horror, shocking, many emotions filled the hearts of all of them. What's going on? Just now, in the end what happened? Their thinking suddenly became rigid, and they were unable to make accurate judgments. Is all this an illusion? Or, this all happened for real? My God, I said, it should be right. Beside. What happened before their eyes? He doesn't want to believe it. He couldn't believe it either. Colonel Pokato, I remember that you seem to have said that just now. Logia demon fruit power will not be touched by the body. But, what about the entity that promised not to encounter Logia ability users? Pokato opened his mouth, his tone full of horror and shock. Kebi, who was in a state of extreme astonishment and shock, suddenly couldn't help but speak, and was asking Pokato in a bewildered and horrified tone. What is said in these words? Why is Mao completely different from what they saw in front of them? Moreover, it is immune to all physical attacks. Who was the person who was knocked into the air? Can anyone explain to them? Just now. So, this must be an illusion. Here's what really happened. Advertisement Chapter 130 Damn, Aokiji Admiral seems to have been caught. Open black lens bracket 4/8 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Illusion, this must be an illusion. I'm sure I haven't woken up yet. Pokato's lips trembled, his eyes were wide and round, and he stared at the scene in front of him with horror, almost overturning his cognition. His worldview was shattered on the spot. How can that be? Just now, what did he see? That scene formed a violent visual impact, overturning Pokato's cognition, making his head thinking chaotic, and his forehead buzzing. Obediently, what did I just see? It looks like, it seems, was stabbed for a second. Do not, must be fake. This unscientific. Seriously unscientific. Beyond the scope of common sense. Pokato shook his head, and forcibly shook off the many terrifying thoughts in his mind, but his pupil still had a strong sense of shock, and his mood was so violent that it was difficult to calm down. Now, after hearing Kebi's remarks, Pokato twisted his stiff neck and turned around, looking at Kebi with shocking eyes, his throat was dry, and he was speechless for a while. Of course, he didn't forget the basic knowledge that he had just taught Kebi and Belumbo. It is precisely because of this. Pokato's mood is so shocked. The basic news that was popularized just now is completely correct. So here comes the problem. Why is what happened to Mao just now completely different from what he said? You said, nothing wrong. Pokato opened his mouth, with a dazed look on his face. His mind was still in a state of confusion. Then why? Who was that person who was knocked into the air just now? Kirby swallowed. Yes, just now, who was knocked into the air? Isn't that exactly Aokiji Admiral? As an Admiral of Headquarters, and a Logia demon fruit power. Okay, so Logia users are immune to all physical attacks. So can anyone explain? Aokiji Admiral, why is the quilt second? It takes a second to be stabbed. This is still the majestic Admiral of Headquarters. All the things that happened just now forcibly changed Kebi's worldview. The worldview is broken. Is this really the Admiral of Headquarters? Known as the top combat power in the sea. Marine's highest combat power. But Mao is different from what they imagined. Dignified Marine Admiral, was cut in seconds. Although this is without any defense and no psychological preparation at all. But even if this is the case, it still overturns the cognition of Kebi and Berumeber. Let their perception of Marine Admiral completely change. At the same time, the words that Pokuto said lingered in their ears frantically, making them remember deeply. Didn't you say that Logia users are immune to all physical attacks? Aokiji Admiral has set an example and set an example for us. Belumbo looked horrified. For these questions, Pokuto couldn't answer. Because, he is also in a state of confusion at the moment. Explain. How the hell does he explain all this? He was the one who said that Layfon would definitely lose. Now watching helplessly, Aokiji is being blamed with a knife. This invisible slap hit Bakato's face, making his face red and swollen. This slap in the face must have been too fast. Advertisement. It was just mentioned that people with Logia abilities are immune to all physical attacks. Therefore, in the duel between Aokiji and Layfon, even if Aokiji remains motionless, Layfon cannot cause any substantial injury to Aokiji. But what happened just now? Can't touch. Does this look like it's out of reach? If you can't touch it, could it be Aokiji was blown away by the strong wind? Instead of being hit by someone. Messy thoughts filled the minds of Pokato, Kebi and the others, making them dumbfounded and staring at the horrifying worldly scene in front of them. It's incredible. Aokiji Admiral, who is a Logia-capable user, was not only touched by the entity, but even killed in a single blow. How can they accept this? This is Marine's highest combat power. Just like that. Illusions. Pokato only felt that all this happened like a dream. He can't understand it himself. Okay, Logia, immune to physical attacks. Isn't this common sense that everyone in the sea knows? Why did Mao change when it was his turn? If Logia is really immune to all physical attacks, why would Aokiji Admiral be killed? There are only two possibilities. The first one, Seastone Wu. But this possibility can be ruled out directly. Seastone. The weapon in Layfon's hand was given to him by me at that time. If it's a Seastone weapon, I wouldn't know it. This is the most common katana sword, the standard katana sword for marine soldiers. Rule out the first possibility. Pokuto continued to think. He stared at the center of the deck with shocking eyes, looking at the young and immature figure holding a samurai sword in place. In his eyes, it was this young figure that brought him an endless sense of oppression. Terribly strong, just to kill this young figure in one blow. Although there is a lot of water in it, not everyone can kill Admiral of Headquarters in seconds. Furthermore, this is not a question of whether to kill in seconds. 2. Logia ability users, because the hair will be broken to the entity. This is what Pokuto needs to think about. He looked at Layfon in horror. Then, he saw it smoothly. The samurai sword in Layfon's hand was a well-made ordinary samurai sword from Naval Headquarters, which had been covered with a layer of black armor at some point. Exclamation mark. Stiff. Indestructible. The cold breath is released from the blade. Even though they were far apart, just seeing this knife made Bakato's heart tremble. At a speed visible to the naked eye, the expression on Pokuto's face is undergoing a terrifying change. My God, what did I see? Pokato's pupils shrank, and his mood was shaken violently again. Except Seastone. There is a second possibility that Layfon can instantly kill Aokiji Admiral. And this possibility is, Layfon has mastered armament hockey. These thoughts just popped up in Pokato's mind. Now. All verified. When he saw the samurai sword in Layfon's hand, it was covered with a layer of black jade-like armor. Pokuto already understood, suddenly realized. Everything becomes clear. All the confusions will be easily resolved. Advertisement. So it is. No wonder Aokiji Admiral was blamed in one shot. No wonder, Aokiji Admiral, who is a Logia-capable user, will actually be touched by the blade, and he will be killed on the spot. This, real or fake, I can't imagine. Pokato stared intently at the katana in Layfon's hand. That layer of black jade-like armor appeared in his pupils and magnified infinitely in his eyes. The strong visual impact subverts Pokato's cognition. No doubt, with the knowledge and experience that Pokuto has fought with Garp for many years, it is of course impossible for him not to know the power of the layer of armor covered by the blade in Layfon's hand. What does it mean again? Quote. This is really armed armor. Grunt. Swallowing. Pokato's lips trembled, his eyes were absent-minded, and he was in a daze. His mentality has completely fallen. Armor color. Can anyone explain to me, why the hell would you see armed colored armor from the hands of the kid Layfon? This is not in line with common sense. Colonel Pokuto. What did you think of? Kebi, who seemed to be feeling something, turned his head to look at Pokato. On his face, there was also a look of deep excitement and horror. Obviously, all the things that happened in front of him have impacted his psychological endurance, and made his cognition and worldview bear a 10,000 times painful crit. If you don't see it with your own eyes, who would dare to believe it? The dignified Admiral of Headquarters, Aokiji Kuzan, was actually killed by a knife. Or by a child who was only 7 years old. Logia Devil Fruit seems to be invalid. What is this for? I didn't say that before. To deal with Logia Demon Fruit power, there are only 2 ways and 3 substances. The first type, Sea Stone, is a weapon made of sea stone. The second is seawater, but it is obviously impossible for ordinary people to use seawater to attack those with abilities, and no one has the ability to manipulate seawater. This method is naturally automatically ruled out. Then there's still a third kind of, the promise. That is to say, the most common method used by the powerhouses of the sea to deal with people with Logia abilities. It is, armament hockey. Pokato took a deep breath, unable to completely calm down, but he still regained a little bit of normal thinking ability, explaining for Kebi and Belumbo. Woo, armament hockey. Kebi and Belumbo became more and more confused. Doesn't this mean that, Mr. Layfon, although it's unbelievable. But, that's the only answer that explains the current situation. Already mastered armament hockey, Pokato's tone was also shocking. Kebi and Belumbo also understood many questions that troubled their heads. How to break the characteristics of Logia ability users, so as to hit the entity of Logia ability users. My god, after listening to Pokato's introduction. So if it's not armament hockey, what else is it? Otherwise. Pokato didn't think he would misread the black armor that covered the katana. Mr. Layfon, he has mastered armament hockey. What else? You. Belumbo's lips trembled. Yeah, that is to say. There is no second possibility. Kirby's eyes widened. Having followed Garp for many years, Pokato certainly won't even admit that armament hockey is wrong. Advertisement Chapter 131 Aokiji Admiral, does your face hurt? Open black lens bracket 5/8 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. There was a slight breeze. The waves are churning, and there are waves of ripples and sprays, and the ripples spread in all directions. The warship sails in the endless sea, drifts with the current, and shakes weakly with the turbulence of the waves. Deck. Because of the violent shaking of the entire warship just now, many Marines hit the corners around them with their bodies unprepared, and their heads are still dizzy to this day. What's going on? It seems that there was a sudden explosion. It wasn't an explosion, it looked like a battle broke out on the deck. Battle. Who's fighting whom? Immediately, a group of Marines began to feel deeply curious, and their exuberant curiosity made them unable to help asking. The violent noise just now naturally made them think that this must be a very fierce battle. Otherwise, it is impossible to cause such a huge turmoil. Here comes the problem. Who fights whom? Many Marines have many questions. Then, a result came from the mouth of Marine in the distance, and floated into the ears of all of them. Yes, Aokiji Admiral, the battle with Mr. Layfon. The words just fell. The atmosphere here instantly became dead silent. Silent without a sound. Everyone is petrified. I see. Their sluggish and horrified faces couldn't conceal the turmoil of panic in their hearts, which completely fluctuated on their faces. What's going on? Did you hear me wrong? Himself, have auditory hallucinations. Everyone's thinking is almost exactly the same. Hallucination. Aokiji Admiral, the fight with Mr. Layfon. This joke is not funny at all. This joke is too stiff. That's right, how is this possible? No, it's not so outrageous to lie. A group of Marines laughed and chatted with each other. This is not a joke. Go to the deck by yourself and you'll see it. Why am I lying to you? I'm lying to you because I have nothing to do. Immediately, the atmosphere here was once again silent. Obediently, could it be possible? Aokiji Admiral really broke out shaking with Mr. Layfon. How is this 727 possible? The difference in strength between the two sides is too far away, right? Aokiji, that's the Admiral of Headquarters. Represents the highest combat power of Marine, the strongest group of monsters in the sea. Although Layfon is indeed very strong, and they have long admired them, they still don't think that Layfon has the qualifications to compete with Aokiji Admiral. The gap is too big. For these two types, there is basically no possibility of a battle breaking out. B. This is one-sided seeking abuse. Mr. Layfon, is this crazy? Someone asked a question with a confused face. This question is also a place where everyone feels puzzled at the same time. Take the initiative to seek abuse. Is this idle and doing nothing? Apart from looking for abuse, is there a second possibility? Non-existent. That's Admiral. How strong is Admiral? It was so strong that everyone present couldn't imagine it, and it seriously exceeded their comprehension. Although Layfon defeated Pokato, Pokato is only Colonel Marine. How far is Colonel Marine from Marine Admiral? What a world of difference. This, if it's not looking for abuse, what else can it be? Everyone is short-circuited. Let a 7-year-old kid challenge the Admiral of Headquarters. What is the result of this? Besides being hammered, is there a second possibility? The point is that they can't understand, because Mao wants to find abuse. Looking for abuse. You are still too young. As a result, guess what? Aokiji Admiral, it seems to be second. One cut, Mr. Layfon cut Aokiji Admiral on the spot. The following words. It became a fuse, instantly detonating the audience. The entire warship boiled and shook completely. Advertisement. What? Aokiji Admiral was seconded. Many Marines were dumbfounded and dumbfounded. Those who didn't understand the truth of the matter only felt like a dream. Good guy. So dignified Admiral, it was seconded. BEFH, what's going on with this ride? Are you making something out of nothing? Are you keeping Chen Kang in the dark? Countless question marks popped out of everyone's minds. Sure, Aokiji Admiral, got slashed. Admiral means the top combat power of Marine. Was spiked. What an international joke. How the hell was he instantly killed by a 7-year-old child? Ever since, inside and outside the huge warship, all the staff were aroused with emotional waves in their hearts, and many Marines stepped forward one after another, rushing towards the center of the warship deck. Whether it is true or not, as long as you reach the center of the deck, you can see the result at any time. For a while, the warship was extraordinarily lively and noisy. At the same time, warship, return center. Kirby was dumbfounded. Belumbo was also confused. After listening to Pokuto's introduction, both of their minds went blank. Of course they couldn't think of it. Layfon is unarmed. This is armament hockey, not just any ordinary combat technique. For the two of them, who have not yet mastered Marine 6 styles, armament hockey, this is a high-end combat method that makes them unattainable. Never expected. Such a high-end fighting method actually appeared on Layfon's body. It seems that the other party has completely mastered it. Mr. Layfon, when did you master the armed color? Kebi and the two opened their mouths, their eyes lost their focus. Well said armament hockey, is it hard to master? But why? From Layfon's body, the two of them always have a blind illusion. $718. Any difficult practical skills have become extraordinarily simple and easy. Beside the two of them, Pokato was even more shocked. His eyes were fixed on the samurai sword in Layfon's hand all the time, seeing that layer of black jade-like armor wrapped around the blade. What else could this be if it wasn't armament hockey? Obediently, this boy Layfon has really awakened his armed color. It's not right. Prior to this, there were no advanced signs at all. This kid, when did he learn the armed color? He is obviously only 7 years old. Who are these people? Pokato couldn't help crying in his heart. I have never seen this kid practice armament hockey before, but who can explain why this kid seems to have mastered armament hockey all of a sudden? Got it all of a sudden. Is it true that armament hockey is as cheap as Chinese cabbage on the street? Say you can master it. What a joke. Even I am not qualified to contact armament hockey. In the end, you told me that you have actually mastered it. Monster. All the thoughts that finally poured into Pokato's head could only be transformed into this sigh. Monster. This is the only way to describe the Layfon in front of me. A 7-year-old monster. Not only is his swordsmanship superior to his own, but even Marine 6 styles is so easy to learn to get started, and he even masters the legendary Conqueror's hockey. It's good now. In addition to these terrifying and astonishing abilities, another one has to be added. Armament hockey. At just 7 years old, master the monster-wielding armament hockey. Aokiji Admiral. It's too miserable. Turning his head, Pokato looked towards the direction of the damaged warehouse not far away, watching with pity on his face. The majestic Admiral of Headquarters. Marine's highest combat power. Represents the face of the entire Marine. Such a terrifying existence, but in the end, someone cut him off with a knife. Or for a 7-year-old. Pokato could imagine. Aokiji's mood at this moment is so sad. Advertisement. This moment, Pokato can still recall very deeply how high-spirited Aokiji was before the fight, and he was almost blown away. Stand still. How many knives do you want to cut? Try best. Don't hold back. Recalling these, Pokato couldn't help but feel his scalp tingling. Aokiji Admiral, I'm afraid I even have the heart to die. He must never have dreamed of. Layfon tried his best to hit the knife, and he really hit it. Moreover, Aokiji Admiral himself was given a second on the spot. Pokato's mood was still full of shock. Taking a deep breath, slightly suppressing the ups and downs of many emotions in his heart, he stared blankly at the direction of the damaged warehouse, and all he could see was a small dilapidated ruin. The warehouse has suffered the huge impact of Aokiji's body, and the gate has been damaged, turning into countless pieces of wood debris, floating in the air and dancing, scattered in the corners of the shinbon under the feet. Look at it pleasing to the eye. I can only see the dim environment of the warehouse, but I can't see what's going on inside, and I can't see the figure of Aokiji anymore, as if I have completely merged into the darkness. Embarrassed. How embarrassing. Pokato is totally predictable. Aokiji's current situation is so embarrassing. As promised, Logia-capable users are immune to all physical attacks. Even, Aokiji didn't hesitate to let go of his big talk. Let Layfon attack with all his strength, don't hold back. When Layfon really went all out. Next second. Aokiji Admiral was instantly killed. Aokiji Admiral, how will you end this embarrassing incident? Pokato imagined a little bit, if he was in the current situation of Aokiji himself, he really didn't know how to end it as the best. Toes. But was slapped in the face by force. How could this end perfectly? I'm going to lose my face. Admiral's face. This means. Marine's face. This time the face was slapped, and even Marine's face was severely swollen. Aokiji Admiral, your face must be in more pain than mine right now. I'm just bragging. Logia Demon Fruit Power can be immune to all physical attacks. But, you set an example. In sharp contrast, Pokato suddenly felt that his face didn't feel as painful as before. After all, the thought of it. What the hell, Even Aokiji Admiral's face has been swollen. What is my little Captain Marine? Plus, isn't it normal to be slapped in the face by Layfon? No way, no way. No one really thinks that being slapped in the face is a shameful thing, right? Here at Layfon, isn't being slapped in the face a habit? I don't feel comfortable if I don't get slapped in the face every day. Pokuto thought to himself. Habit is second nature. Anyway, Pokuto is used to this. Are there fewer times you get slapped in the face? Not a lot. On the contrary, there are many. So much that Bokuto was already numb. It's just that Pokuto can't judge. Can Aokiji Admiral, who was slapped in the face, survive this hurdle? In fact, Pokuto really wanted to comfort Aokiji. The time ahead is still very long. No, no, no. Since then, Pokuto's worldview has completely collapsed and distorted. The same mind is pure. Pokuto, who was deeply touched by this, was in a trance for a while. You always have to be clear. After a long time, you will get used to being slapped in the face, so don't worry about it. From now on, then began to experience countless tragic and painful blows. I am afraid that I can find someone to keep me company. Therefore, the same innocence. You don't think this is the end, do you? This is just the beginning. Seeing the current Aokiji, Pokuto was touched. Came across a total monster. Seeing Aokiji at this moment, he seemed to see himself before he came into contact with Layfon. Advertisement Chapter 132 Garp. The one who stepped on the horse was almost lost at the end of the festival. Open black lens bracket 6/8 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Am I blind? This, could it be? Armed color. Garp was dumbfounded. Until now, his thoughts have calmed down a little bit. But his eyes were still wide open like a donkey eyes, his face was horrified and stunned, and he stared blankly at the young figure holding a samurai sword in front of him. What's going on? Who can explain to the old man? What the hell is going on here? Aokiji, the brat, how did he get knocked into the air? Not a Logia ability user. Wouldn't it be elementalized? Isn't it immune to all physical attacks? That's not right. This is completely different from what the old man expected. Didn't you say that it's good to show the ability of Logia Devil Fruit, so that Layfon can feel the fear of being dominated by a person with Logia ability? Why would things develop like this? Does this count as lifting a rock and shooting yourself in the foot? Illusions. I must not have woken up. Garp shook his head violently. Originally, his plan was to let Aokiji use the ability of Logia Devil Fruit to give Layfon a strong sense of oppression and despair. Let Layfon really realize, facing a person with Logia ability, without armament hockey, how severe and helpless the situation will be. This experience, in Garp's view, will promote Layfon to grow better, be more appropriate, correct Layfon's mentality, and avoid arrogance. But Garp was negligent after all. Because he couldn't even dream of it. Aokiji, unexpectedly got caught. The dignified Admiral of Headquarters, Logia Demon Fruit Power, was killed by Layfon. It is unbelievable that, Aokiji, who is a Logia ability user, was touched by his own body. This is what confuses Garp. Isn't the original intention of him asking Aokiji to teach Layfon to let Layfon experience the despair and helplessness when facing a Logia-capable person? But apparently, the current development of things is completely opposite to what Garp imagined. Aokiji's Logia didn't work. Seastone weapon. Do not. Garp stared intently at the black jade-like armor wrapped around the samurai sword in Layfon's hand. Fierce, cold, breath spread from the blade. This familiar power allows Garp to judge very accurately. This power, absolutely, 100%, it's armament hockey. No doubt, Garp is naturally not familiar with the power of armed color. His own armament hockey level is very high, how can he not recognize the power of Layfon's current armor covering the samurai sword? This kid, actually know how to use armed colors. What time exactly? Simply, there was no sign before. Garp's mind went blank, he still can't figure it out. Layfon, when did you master the armed color? This is not scientific. If Layfon had mastered the armed color before, why Mao never showed his own armed color when fighting against Pokuto? Obviously, at that time, Layfon didn't know how to use armed colors at all. Advertisement. Only in this way can we explain what happened before. Same. Problems ensue. Why is it that the current Layfon seems to have a sudden epiphany, directly awakening his own armed color? Can't understand. Even the well-informed Garp felt dizzy at the moment. If Garp had known earlier that Layfon had already mastered the armed color, he would naturally not be able to arrange such a thing today. Have Aokiji teach Layfon the color of arms. It's not just a waste of time. This kid, he didn't tell me that he would be armed. Looking at the place where Aokiji was knocked into the air, the damaged warehouse, and the many sawdust scattered on the ground, for some reason, Garp suddenly felt a little weak. Seemingly, it seems, maybe, that I tricked Aokiji. Obediently, Aokiji, brat, this is too miserable. Really, he was slashed by Layfon when he was completely unprepared. Anyway, Aokiji is also a majestic Admiral of Headquarters. Just being given a second by a 7-year-old child, how can this be acceptable? Admiral, killed by a 7-year-old. If the news gets out, will Marine lose face? The essential. Does Aokiji need to lose face? Face. This wave, Aokiji, I'm afraid I'll lose face. Garp coughed dryly, and his face turned red. Aokiji ah. This old man is not cheating on you. Think about it, this old man is teaching you a good lesson. Let you understand that in this sea, people's hearts are unpredictable, so don't trust a person's words casually. Today's lesson is given to you for free. People, you must have the ability to judge yourself. Do not listen to slander. Use your own judgment. You see, if you have your own judgment ability, you won't be given a second by Layfon. Mainly, this old man doesn't even know, when did Layfon learn the color of his weapon? This kid hides too deep. I can't even see through this kid with my discerning eyes. Garp took a deep breath, suppressing the sense of rhythm in his heart. He thought for a moment. If he were himself, how would he deal with the current situation of Aokiji? Thinking of this, Garp's scalp tingles. I'm afraid it's not. Evening festival is not guaranteed. This kid. You really have to be careful. If you are not careful, the old man may lose his rhythm at the end of the day. Garp's hairs stood on end. Fine, let Aokiji, the kid, teach Layfon this time. Otherwise, the old man may also suffer. As the saying goes. Dead friends don't die poor. With this thought in mind, Garp looked at Layfon with a happy face, and then looked at the direction where Aokiji was flying upside down, feeling a little relaxed. So far so good, the old man's face is finally saved. As for Aokiji, it's none of my business. Anyway, it's not the old man's face that's lost, it's just the face of the kid named Aokiji. Almost stepped on thunder. Garp was slightly relieved. Advertisement. This time, Aokiji counts as Garp blocking the gun. If not, Garp didn't dare to think whether he would be slapped hard by Layfon like Aokiji, making his face red and swollen. Even now, Garp feels that he has lost face. But by contrast, Garp feels that his situation is much better than Aokiji's. But then again, who can explain to the old man? Layfon, what's the matter with him? Somehow, he mastered armament hockey. Seeking flowers 0. And looking at this posture, it is obvious that armament hockey's attainments are not low. In other words, how did he learn armament hockey? And when did he learn armament hockey? Even if you just learned armament hockey recently, there is no reason to use it and perform it so proficiently. Looking at the kid's movements and aptitude, as well as the strength of armament hockey, how can this look like he just learned it recently? It looks like it has been in contact with armament hockey for several years. Without years of contact, the concentration of armed color intensity can reach this level. Are you kidding me? Garp's expression was full of horror. He has many years of experience in sailing the sea, and he is well informed. But I have never seen such an unimaginable horror example today. According to his own inference. Meaning that is. Layfon has been in contact with armament hockey a few years ago. How can that be? At the first moment, Garp ruled out this possibility. Do not show. Contact armed color a few years ago. How old is Layfon? 7 years old this year. Contacted a few years ago, could it be when I was 3 or 4 years old? I'm afraid that even the teeth don't grow in place, so I can touch the armed color. Even if it is a monster, it is not exaggerated to such an extent. 3 or 4 years old exposed to armed color. There is no such example. I must be crazy. Garp dismissed the horrible and terrifying thought. But if it wasn't 3 or 4 years old when he was exposed to armed colors, why did Layfon's mastery of armed colors reach this level of strength and concentration? Can't figure it out. Even if Garp tried his best, he couldn't think of a reasonable explanation. Garp's grasp of armament hockey is very deep, of course he can judge very accurately. At this moment, the black armor-colored armor covering the Layfon katana is already quite impressive. There is nothing at all, the novice has just mastered the performance of armed colors. Just like a veteran who has mastered the armed color for several years, the mastery and comprehension of the armed color has reached a very qualified level. What the hell? What's the situation? Garp's mind was in turmoil. He still couldn't organize his thoughts clearly. How difficult it is for him to accumulate, the cognition of armament hockey has a very strong conflict with his own current basic cognition concepts. With many years of experience, Garp judges that Layfon's armed color strength has been cultivated for at least several years. But the basic cognitive concerns that existed in Garp's mind made him directly veto it. Layfon has been exposed to the possibility of armament hockey since he was 3 or 4 years old. The two conflict. Contradiction. Let Garp lose his eyesight for a while, and stand there in a daze. Which one is real? Or in other words, there is still a third possibility. Could it be that this kid just learned the armed color again? But with his terrifying talent, he can cultivate the armed color to such a strength easily. Is it possible? Garp opened his mouth, his throat dry. Say something. In this sea, is there really someone who possesses such an unbelievable talent for terror? It's easy to do it, and it's fine to let yourself get started. Even, in a very short period of time, he has cultivated his own armed color to the level and strength that others need to spend several years to improve to. No matter how terrifying this kid's talent is, there is no reason why he can do this. If this is true, then how do you let other people live 10? Advertisement Chapter 133 Pretend to be a pig and eat a tiger. Aokiji's mentality is broken. Open black lens bracket 7/8 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Not long. A group of Marines approached one after another and walked to the center of the warship deck, surrounded by all of them, looking at the scene with curiosity and shock. Why were you surprised? How did they persuade you to come? Kebi and Belumbo looked suspicious. Hundreds of Marine elites seemed to have gathered here. What are they doing here? Pokoto also seemed a little unexpected. Could it be? The news here has leaked. These guys, don't they want to see Aokiji's state? Pokado thought strangely in his heart. His throat was dry, and he turned his head to look in the direction of the dark warehouse. A faint cold sweat began to break out on his forehead, and the sweat stains flowed down his forehead slowly. Not good, Aokiji Admiral. The situation on the scene is getting worse for you. Is Marine Admiral really shameless? With so many people watching, how could Aokiji have the nerve to crawl out of that ruin? Anyway, Admiral of Headquarters, it is better to save face. For a while, the atmosphere here has become extraordinarily lively and noisy. Feeling the noisy atmosphere here, even Garp's hairs stood on end. Good guy, fine, it's not the old man who is ashamed. Otherwise, the old man will not be able to keep his old face for fear of 197. Aokiji kid, just ask for blessings. Garp turned to look at the dark ruins with a helpless expression on his face. He doesn't know either. Faced with this situation, how will Aokiji respond? What are you doing here? Immediately, Boka slapped his face and asked loudly. Admiral's face should be saved as much as possible. Colonel Pokado, we heard that Aokiji Admiral and Mr. Layfon were shaking. And, Aokiji Admiral, was killed by Mr. Layfon with a knife. We want to see if this is true. A group of Marines spoke one after another. Their goals are the same. Everyone who came here wanted to see if the truth of the group relationship was as rumored. Can't you be a little more tactful? What is a spike? Pokado was speechless, upright, so frank. These guys really didn't take Aokiji Admiral's face into consideration at all. Thinking of this, Pokado only felt a headache. I have tried my best. These guys are too curious, and I am also desperate. As for your face, you should find a way to save it yourself. Anyway, I'm at my wit's end. Could it be that these curious guys are being driven away directly? At that time, the fact that you lost to Layfon has really come true. Moreover, as they said in the rumors, he was killed instantly with a knife. Colonel Pokato, this must be false, must it not? I don't know which B********** D dares to spread these news falsely, it's really daring. That is, advertisement. Aokiji Admiral, this is the highest combat power of Naval Headquarters. Although I admit that Mr. Layfon's strength is indeed very strong, but it is impossible to compare with Aokiji Admiral, right? All the sea, the majestic Admiral of Headquarters, will lose to a 7-year-old child. How can that be? Or was it spiked? This is even more false. The news made them feel like a dream, so they fixed on Bokato with curious and longing eyes, expecting the latter's answer. Being watched with anticipation by everyone, Bokato suddenly felt tremendous psychological pressure. How would you answer this question? Strictly speaking. Aokiji Admiral, what AF G match? But the problem is. This is not a real duel. Aokiji Admiral was caught off guard without any mental preparation. But can you say these words yourself? If you say it from your own mouth, will these guys subconsciously ignore these many preconditions and think? Aokiji Admiral, is it really a spike for Layfon? After thinking a lot, Pokado's pressure became more and more intense. Suddenly panicked. Will Aokiji Admiral feel dissatisfied with himself if he says the wrong thing? I'm just a little Marine Colonel. Why are you bothering me, Colonel Marine? It's not even if I say it, and it's not if I don't say it. What do you want me to do? In what way should I explain to you what happened here just now? After thinking about it, Bokato was completely unable to answer these Marines' inquiries. Who spread the news here? Pokado thought secretly. On the bright side, seeing it, many Marines gathered with expectant eyes. Pokado looked impatient, and yelled seriously, don't you need training? What are you all running here to see? What's the matter here? What does it have to do with you? Whether Aokiji Admiral and Layfon confront each other, and what impact will it have on you? Will it affect your progress in strength? The sound spread loudly. For a moment, many Marines present were stunned, and they spoke without authorization because of others. You're right. As the saying goes, the official rank crushes people to death. Many Marines present dared not speak. They looked at Pokato with resentment on their faces, and turned to look in other directions, not daring to make too many inquiries, and could only rely on their own eyes to see clearly the development and trend of the matter. Quote. Escaped a disaster. Pokato also silently wiped off the cold sweat that had slipped from his forehead. The atmosphere became silent. Pairs of eyes full of curiosity, looking at the center of the battlefield, the young figure holding a samurai sword, his eyes never blinked, and his eyes never moved. At the same time, a dark and dilapidated warehouse. Following the faint halo, scattered into the dark warehouse, this messy scene appeared in the pupils of many people. As the door was damaged by the impact, some of the dry food and curry was scattered on the deck around the warehouse, placed in a disorderly manner in the corners. And the figure of Aokiji is lying on top of many messy goods. The huge impact damaged many appliances in the warehouse. Fishing nets, dry food, etc. stored in the warehouse, similar to daily life items, were torn apart by the impact and turned into wreckage scattered above the deck. Here, there is no movement. Aokiji lay flat, as if there was no sound. It seemed like fainting. But in fact, Aokiji has recovered a long time ago. Although the tingling pain in his shoulder made him a little unbearable, this injury can only be regarded as a drizzle for him. Aokiji, who has experienced countless life and death battles, will not even frown when faced with such a small injury. The injury on his body can almost be ignored by him. What he really cares about is what just happened. Layfon boy. Advertisement. Mastered armament hockey already. Aokiji's mood is still in shock and it is difficult to calm down. Compared with the stabbing pain in his shoulder, what he cared more about was that Layfon's knife just now, with the power of armament hockey in it, hit his own shoulder head on. That moment, his body was impacted by a huge force, thus flying backwards in this direction of the warehouse. The occurrence of all this seems a bit unimaginable, like a dream. To date, Aokiji's mood is still difficult to calm down completely. Armed color. I actually saw armament hockey on a 7-year-old child. Also, Layfon's armament hockey doesn't seem to have a low level of attainment. Looking at this posture, it seems that he has practiced armament hockey for several years. It doesn't look like a jerky new drama at all. Aokiji's mind became confused. A lot of news made his mind dizzy, making it impossible for him to recover his normal thinking. The trend and development of things are completely different from what he originally expected. Now, Aokiji can still recall very deeply. When facing Layfon, those words he said before. Let Layfon go all out, never show mercy, like a knife, pierced Aokiji's heart crazily, making his face flushed, and his breathing became extraordinarily chaotic and without rhythm. Shame. What a shame. Sweeping face. Whenever he thinks that he has boasted so much, Aokiji can't help getting goosebumps all over his body, and his face is a little bit uncomfortable. Thinking that I am a majestic Admiral of Headquarters, I will encounter such a catastrophe. Vice Admiral Garp, you have made me miserable. Your grandson has already mastered the matter of armament hockey, why didn't you mention it to me before? But if you mention it a little bit, I won't be as miserable as I am now. Aokiji looked sad, wanting to cry but no tears. If he had known earlier that this boy Layfon had mastered the color of weapons, he wouldn't have lost such a big embarrassment. He was also given a second by a knife. But this kid is very good at life. Replace the blade with the back in time, or my injury will be more serious. Aokiji rubbed his shoulders, lying on top of the sundries, staring at the ceiling with a lifeless face, without any intention of moving at all. But why? You have mastered the armed color, why can't you tell me in advance for 2.2? Moreover, you actually asked me to teach you the armed color. What's on your mind? His heart can be punished. Aokiji couldn't help cursing bitterly in his heart. Aokiji's eyes were dull, and he looked at the ceiling of the warehouse with helplessness and embarrassment. His mentality was obviously on the verge of collapse, and he whispered to himself. If you are not careful, you will be on your own. Admiral of Headquarters, let me walk out of this broken warehouse. And walk out in such a mess. Why do I have to be shameless? Pretend to be a pig and eat a tiger. My dignified headquarter, Admiral, was R*****D by a 7-year-old child. Are you kidding me? I step on a horse. The key is. How do we get through the predicament in front of us? Think here. Today's young people play these routines one after another. It's hard to guard against. Am I, Aokiji, shameless? I'm old, I can't keep up with the trend of the times, and I don't know how to keep pace with the times. Why are there so many people around Mao? Everyone knows that I walked out of the warehouse like this. Just now, I was instantly killed by a 7-year-old child. Aokiji's mentality has completely collapsed. This is not. Right now, the only thing I want to know is. Advertisement Chapter 134 Aokiji Admiral doesn't look very smart. Open black lens bracket 8/8 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. It's over. I miss my famous name of Aokiji it will be ruined. Aokiji was lying in the dilapidated warehouse, looking at the ceiling with a look of lovelessness, and had no thoughts of moving his body from the warehouse to the outer deck. Joke. Go out. Don't you want the face of being Admiral? Let people know that they have been given a second by a 7-year-old child, how will others feel? Anyway, I am also a dignified Admiral of Headquarters. Marine's highest combat power on the surface. How can I tolerate being accused? Am I Aokiji shameless? With so many thoughts in mind, Aokiji looked sad, wanting to cry but not crying. I regret it at the beginning. I shouldn't have agreed to Vice Admiral Garp's words, I shouldn't have taught Layfon what the so-called armed color is, and I shouldn't have boasted about standing in the sea and making the other party seriously slash a few times. What crime did I do? If you offend this grandpa and grandson, you'll let them live. It's fine with the old ones. More than 10 years ago, I was hammered every day, and I endured it. But what's the situation with this young one? It's so good, why did you want to use armed weapons to kill me? Aren't you incapable of arming yourself? You already know how to arm yourself. What do you want me to teach you? Isn't it pure heart to find fault? Let me embarrass myself. Hateful. It's just strange, I'm still too young, and I don't know enough about the hearts of the people in this sea. Countless thoughts flooded into Aokiji's head. He dare not think. When he walks out of this dilapidated warehouse, how many eyes with different emotions will he meet? This life is over. I am Aokiji, the first famous name. It will be ruined today. Aokiji's mentality was completely broken. Thinking of me, Aokiji is a majestic Admiral of Headquarters, looking at the sea, how high-spirited it is, how respected it is, even the pirates are afraid of me 14. Never thought about it. Today, I actually fell into the hands of a 7-year-old child. The grandpa and grandson even set me up together. Vice Admiral Garp, your grandson, armament hockey, didn't have a few years of cultivation, can he be so strong? And he is so proficient in putting the samurai sword in his hand. It doesn't take a few years to reach this level. If there is no such thing as Vice Admiral Garp in this matter, I would absolutely not believe it. Good guy. I'm such a straight guy. Grandpa and grandson come and set me up. Aokiji twisted his slightly tingling arm, looking helpless and depressed. Feeling more and more Marines gathered around, Aokiji's expression became more and more unnatural. Completely finished. Today, my Admiral's face, don't try to save it. Everything turned into a sigh. Then, Aokiji supported his body with his hands, slowly stood up from the deck, and patted the many sawdust debris and dust stained on his body, twisted his arms and looked out of the warehouse door. What should come, will always come. Can't hide. Since you can't hide, then bite the bullet and face it. Ever since. With this in mind, Aokiji stepped out of the dilapidated warehouse. The gate had long been shattered by the huge force brought by his body, and turned into countless wood debris, which were scattered in the corners of the two sides, appearing disorganized. Just walked out the gate. The golden hot halo sprinkled from the sky and shone on Aokiji's body, nourishing the body, and the meaning of warmth flowed slowly on the body. Feeling that there were hundreds of Marines surrounding the scene, and all eyes were focused on him at the same time, Aokiji almost stopped breathing. When did so many people come to maid? It's not like that. Aokiji almost tilted his heel. His mood fell to the bottom, and he walked back to the original center of the deck with a depressed face. Pairs of shocked and curious eyes followed Aokiji's movements. Seeing the slightly torn clothes on Aokiji's body, as well as the many dust and sawdust debris, the hundreds of Marines surrounded by the scene were shocked. No way. Aokiji Admiral, could it be that he was really caught just now? Otherwise, how to explain these traces on Aokiji Admiral's body? And this embarrassing figure? Advertisement. But, this is unscientific. This is the Admiral of Headquarters, how could it be killed by Mr. Layfon in seconds? This is totally unreasonable. There was a lot of talk. All the Marines were dumbfounded at the same time. All of this has seriously overturned their cognitive outlook. Marine Admiral, in their eyes is the supreme existence. Marine's highest combat power represents Marine's card face. How could such a powerful existence be instantly killed by someone? I was given a second by a 7-year-old child. How can this be accepted by them? It's incredible. 7-year-old kills Admiral of Headquarters. What an international joke. The footsteps stopped, and Aokiji had returned to the front of Layfon. He looked at the samurai sword in Layfon's hand, which was covered with a layer of black jade-like armed armor, and his eyes showed complex emotional ups and downs. Good guy. Sure enough, it is armed color. And looking at the concentration and strength of the armed color, it is obvious that without practicing for a few years, it is impossible to cultivate armament hockey to this level. Boy, your show is so stunning. I showed you a hard face. Aokiji took a deep breath and calmed down a bit, his hearing automatically filtered out the remarks from the Marines around him. He was really worried. If he pushed the comments of these people into his ears, he would break down and want to kill him. What is Aokiji Admiral talking about? Didn't you force me to do my best? No, I already did my best. Now you're blaming me instead. What's the point? Layfon had a playful smile on his face. Then, he withdrew the samurai sword in his hand. At a speed visible to the naked eye, the layer of black armed armor covering the blade gradually began to restrain itself, gradually receding towards Layfon's body. The blade returned to its original appearance, and the black color faded, turning the blade into silver again, shining dazzling light with the sunlight falling from the sky. Faced with Layfon's sharp words, Aokiji found himself speechless. It seems, there is nothing wrong with it. At first, wasn't it me who made Layfon go all out? Do your best to cut yourself a few times. Don't hold back. Thinking of this, the corner of Aokiji's mouth couldn't help twitching. Emotion. From the very beginning, I was hooked. At that time, I thought that I would find a chance to teach Layfon a lesson. It turned out that as early as that time, an invisible giant net had already wrapped itself in an inescapable escape. Aokiji, who suddenly woke up, suddenly felt a chill on his back. When did you get in? Unexpectedly. Good guy. Is this the highest level of trapping? Before people know it, they are already in a huge fishing net, and there is no escape. High. It's really high. This method made Aokiji feel creepy. This little grade, what's in your head? Before I knew it, I was tricked, and I was so complacent that I had the opportunity to teach this kid a lesson. Unexpectedly. This is the beginning of my conspiracy. Aokiji subconsciously raised his hand to wipe away the cold sweat that didn't exist on his forehead. This means, it seems a bit too scary. How can this 7-year-old child arrange such a meticulous plan? How can such a meticulous fishing net be set up? How does this kid's head grow? Aokiji stared at Layfon's forehead with some surprise on his face. Aokiji Admiral, it's not my fault. Didn't I ask you over and over again at the beginning, asking you to confirm whether I should go all out? In the end, you still insisted that I go all out. As a last resort, I can only do my best. After all, you said at the time that if you don't go all out, it will be a great insult to you. In order to show my respect for the elders, I have no choice but to do my best to attack you. I hope that as an elder, you don't care about me. Advertisement. Layfon continued with a smile. The words fell. Aokiji couldn't refute immediately. The young people of today. Is it all that scary? When did this sea become so dangerous? Even these 7-year-old children are so terrifying to this point. Do not. More precisely, only this guy in front of him is different. Looking at the sea, this is the only example. Not only the talent is terrifying, but also the personality is calm and intelligent. Penultimate. Can you believe it? I'm in my 40s. Haven't seen any big worlds. Haven't experienced any life and death battles. That's how I got to Admiral's position. But in terms of playing routines, I can't even play with a 7-year-old kid. The more Aokiji thought about it, the more frightened he became. Looking back now, he realized. An invisible giant net had bound him tightly long ago, making it impossible for him to break free. It's just like, in all aspects, they were calculated to death. Clothes. I have completely conquered 143. Admiring 5 body cast. Aokiji looked at Layfon with strange eyes. Being stared at by Aokiji with this weird look. Layfon always feels unnatural. Could it be playing too hard? Can't it? Honestly, since when did you start playing tricks? Let me die to understand that I also want to be a decent person. After Aokiji calmed down, he couldn't help asking. Quote question mark quote. Layfon froze. What the hell? Set up. When did I set you up? How come I don't even know it myself? Aokiji Admiral, are you afraid that you were stabbed just now and gave you a concussion? So everyone is stupid. Don't think that I don't know, I have already figured everything out. I have to admit that your methods are quite clever, and I was tricked by you without knowing it. It's really unimaginable. A child who is only 7 years old can actually arrange such a meticulous plan without loopholes. This time, I am really convinced and admire it. If it wasn't for today's move, I might not even know that you have mastered armament hockey. This is really a terrifying talent. The key is, don't be arrogant or impetuous. I have mastered armament hockey early on, but I don't have any thoughts of showing off in front of others. This kind of character is really rare. Aokiji's tone was emotional, and he looked at Layfon with eyes of wisdom that seemed to see through everything. It seems to be saying, boy, don't hide, stop pretending. All in all your plans and layouts, I have already taken care of them all. Now, can we have a formal showdown? Quote question mark quote. Seeing Aokiji's expression of great emotion, Layfon's train of thought couldn't keep up. Anyway, it felt quite sudden. The majestic Admiral of Headquarters, it seems that people are stupid if they don't understand it. There was no sign before, not even a trace. Pity. A powerful Admiral of Headquarters, the pillar and signboard of Marine, and the top combat power of the sea. The only fly in the ointment is that the other party doesn't seem very smart. Advertisement chapter 135. You don't really think it's difficult to be armed, do you? Open black lens bracket 1/6 for customization. Close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Could it be that my knife really shocked Aokiji Admiral's brain? It made his brain show some signs of being broken. Layfon looked at Aokiji strangely. Set up. What set? Conspiracy. What conspiracy? Layfon was stunned by what he said to Aokiji, and his thinking seemed a little stunned. What's going on? Suddenly I feel a little less confident. Is it really fooling Aokiji Admiral? Inexplicably, suddenly Layfon felt a little guilty. No way. At any rate, the Admiral of Headquarters isn't that weak, is it? Boy, I told you that enough is enough, don't pretend anymore. Isn't it really tiring to pretend for so long? Since you have taken the initiative to reveal the armed color you have mastered, why continue to hide it? Tell me, when did you start practicing armament hockey? You've been hiding your clumsiness all these years, and it's pretty deep. I feel that even Vice Admiral Garp doesn't seem to know that you have learned armament hockey. I guess, it should be right. Aokiji once again showed a smile that sees through all conspiracies. As soon as he walked out of the warehouse, he also saw Garp's look. Very confused. Also very scary. From here, the pheasant can be judged initially. Perhaps Garp is also unaware of Layfon's possession of armament hockey. In this way, Aokiji was even more moved. Good guy. Even Vice Admiral Garp was cheated. This is a scam, the means are real. Hidden. Armed color. I hide my armed color. Layfon pointed to himself. What the hell? When did I hide my armed color? Apparently, it never was. The armament color I just learned this morning, before I even had time to hide it, was strongly asked by Aokiji to slash with all my strength, and even armament hockey has already used it. Is this also hidden? Layfon looked at Aokiji in a cloud of mist. Aokiji Admiral, when did I hide that I learned armament hockey? The words fell. Aokiji laughed out loud. Good boy. It's all up to now, and I'm still hiding. Vice Admiral Garp, your grandson is dishonest. Aokiji looked at Garp with emotion. Don't look at me, I don't know these things. Garp felt a little guilty. Facing Aokiji, I always feel a little lack of confidence. After all, Aokiji's embarrassment is purely for him to block the gun. If it wasn't for Aokiji, it might be him. Thinking of this, Garp couldn't help sending a chill down his spine. This boy Layfon even lied to the old man, his heart is damning. I have never heard this kid mention it, but he actually mastered the matter of armament hockey. If I knew about this earlier, why would the old man ask Aokiji to teach me? Well now, Aokiji's original teaching was to let Layfon feel the fear, powerlessness, and despair of being dominated by a Logia-capable person. Never expected. These originally expected effects were not achieved. On the contrary, Aokiji, who was a majestic Admiral of Headquarters, suffered a very tragic disaster. It was instantly killed by Layfon. Embarrassed. It's so embarrassing. Admiral, that's it. Anyway, Garp couldn't imagine what it would be like to be killed in such a flash. I'm afraid I'll lose all my old face. Evening festival is not guaranteed. Boy, listen, your grandfather, Vice Admiral Garp, doesn't even know that you have practiced armament hockey for several years. Tell me, aren't you hiding something deep? Young people's routines are really one set after another. Aokiji, who was originally taciturn, seemed to have opened up a conversation box. He looked at Layfon in front of him with an expression full of amazement, and spoke one after another. Several years. Layfon's expression was getting weirder. Say something. Aokiji Admiral, who told you that my armament hockey has been practiced for several years? What are you talking about? The more Aokiji talked, the more confused Layfon's mind became. Advertisement. Aokiji Admiral, are you alright? Layfon looked at Aokiji's head and couldn't help thinking. At this time, Pokato outside the field began to disperse the many marine elites around. It's all gone, it's all gone. Don't you need to train? What are you doing here? Have you completed the training I assigned? When you're done, train again. According to my request, immediately, leave here, and devote yourself to training wholeheartedly. Are you deaf in your ears? With Pokato's solemn orders came. A group of Marines who watched the excitement dispersed one after another, with a somewhat cautious and apprehensive expression, and left the center of the deck one after another. At the same time, with unparalleled shock, they once again devoted themselves to their training. Aokiji Admiral, it seems that Mr. Layfon really gave a second. Although there may be some problems in this, but even so, Aokiji Admiral is the Admiral of Headquarters. Unexpectedly, just like that. Similar horrific thoughts floated in the minds of every Marine, causing huge waves in their moods, which could not be calmed down at all. Even in the midst of training, their shocking mood could never be suppressed. In a blink of an eye, the central area of the huge warship deck has been completely empty. The Marines who surrounded here just now have all left. Under Pokato's severe reprimand, they didn't dare to stay here too much. Empty decks. There are still a few people left. That is Garp, Pokato, Kirby and others, still located in the center of the deck. Also, there are Layfon and Aokiji. Boy, I lost Admiral's face in your hands today. Seeing the crowd scattered around, Aokiji breathed a sigh of relief, looked at Layfon sadly and depressedly, and couldn't help but speak. Now Admiral's face is lost. Killed by a 7-year-old child. If this spreads out and passes it back to Naval Headquarters, do I still have to mess around? In particular, what kind of ridicule and sarcasm would he bear if it was passed back to the ears of his old opponent, Akainu? Thinking of this, Aokiji shuddered and his scalp tingled. Not good. Akainu, a bitter and mean guy, will never give up this opportunity to mock himself. Aokiji Admiral is wrong. Isn't that what you said? Let me do my best. Layfon shook his head with a grin. Having said that, let's be honest. When exactly did you start contacting armament hockey? You didn't even disclose a little bit of information before. Aokiji looked a little curious. Layfon, who had a similar experience, thought about it a little. Then, he said, do you want to hear the truth or lie? To this, Aokiji rolled his eyes. Nonsense, of course I want to hear the truth. The truth. After a pause, Layfon spoke again. If I say, I just learned my armament hockey this morning. Do you believe it? Will you believe it? Finished. Layfon turned again, looking at the approaching Garp, Pokato and others. This remark is not only an explanation for Aokiji, but also an explanation for Garp and others. But, Layfon was totally predictable. When my own words fall, what kind of impact will it cause? As predicted, as Layfon himself predicted, Aokiji was taken aback for a moment, and then said with a strange expression, you said it the wrong way. What I want to hear is the truth, not lies. What lies are you talking about here? Really? Layfon looked helpless. Let's be honest, no one will believe it. But don't listen to the truth. What can I do? I am also very disappointed. You guys are really. Layfon hesitated for a moment. I want to hear the truth, but when I speak the truth, I think it is a lie. What's the matter? Just learned to arm colors this morning. Why don't you simply say that the highly accomplished swordsmanship that you possess now has only been cultivated in a few days? Aokiji looked suspicious. Not to mention, you are really right this time, Aokiji Admiral. My swordsmanship was really developed in a few days. FFLX. Aokiji Admiral, how did you know? Advertisement. Layfon looked at Aokiji in surprise. Aokiji was speechless. His mind short-circuited. This kid really just opened his mouth. I just made an analogy casually, but in the end I really followed my own words. Don't you want to nod your face? This cow is about to blow up to the sky. Don't even make drafts yourself. In a few days, can you quickly achieve this level of swordsmanship? Then in this sea, don't the top swordsman of swordsmanship penultimate walk all over the place? What a joke. Beside, even Garp, Pokato and others couldn't speak anymore. The atmosphere is getting a little weird. Silence. Quite a while. Cough cough. Pokato coughed dryly and tugged at Aokiji's arm. I see. Pokato explained in a low voice. Aokiji Admiral, there is something that I have to explain to you in advance to prevent your thinking from falling into misunderstandings. What? Aokiji wondered. Actually, what you said just now is really correct. Pokato told the truth. What words? Aokiji froze for a moment. It's what you said just now. In just a few days, Layfon has raised his sword skills to the level it is today. In fact, you really hit the mark on this sentence. I, Vice Admiral Garp, and everyone on this ship witnessed this incident with their own eyes. They can be regarded as witnesses to witness the occurrence of this incident. With Pokoto's explanation, Aokiji was stunned on the spot. What's going on? I mentioned it casually, did I really hit the mark? It's not right. This is just an exaggerated analogy. How did this hit the mark? It's not scientific. In just a few days, he raised his swordsmanship to Layfon's current level. Who would believe this? Is the current swordsmanship so easy to learn? Vice Admiral Garp, this must be a joke, right? Zhao Mo's. Aokiji took a deep breath and looked at Garp. What do you think? Garp didn't look joking at all. Anyway, he has seen it with his own eyes. If he hadn't witnessed it with his own eyes, he certainly wouldn't believe this terrible thing. Seeing Garp's serious expression, Aokiji's words stopped abruptly. Obediently, really, I made an exaggerated analogy, and I guessed it right by such a coincidence. Has this kid become such a monster? In a few days, can you quickly practice swordsmanship to this level? And many more. But, if this person is Layfon, then all of this has become completely different. To be frank, by the way, you don't really think that armament hockey is hard to learn, do you? Isn't it just that you have learned an armed color? Why do you guys show this kind of expression? Much to the shock of Garp and the others, a little numb. Aokiji suddenly turned his head to look at Layfon, his eyes widened, his face full of shock. That's too much. Just ask around. Doesn't that mean? No. Now, your armed color. Aren't there few unbelievable things that happen to Layfon? Layfon being stared at by a group of people, the whole body is a little unnatural after all. If the words just now were said by the second person, they would deny this possibility without hesitation. Garp, Pokoto, Kebi and others also fixed their eyes on Layfon one after another, looking jingdong. Advertisement Chapter 136 Arriving at the terminal. Sign into Marineford. Open black lens bracket 2/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. You don't really think armament hockey is hard to learn, do you? This sentence spit out and fell from Layfon's mouth. On the deck of the huge warship, the atmosphere became more and more eerie and quiet. The sea breeze is blowing, and the waves are churning. Crash. Waves of sea waves rippling, spreading the spray in all directions, the ripples are turbulent, and there is a crisp and pleasant sound, which floats and releases, lingering in everyone's ears. Grunt. Kebi couldn't help swallowing, and looked at Layfon in horror. Just now, what did I hear? Kebi's mind seemed to have been hit by a million tons of crit, and he froze in place on the spot. For him, who has not even mastered the Marine 6 styles, and is only in contact with them, armament hockey is of course a very high-end actual combat skill. But it is such a high-end fighting method, what does it become when it comes to Layfon's mouth? Easy. Little tricks you can learn easily. God, Mr. Layfon. Please stop showing off. My little heart can't bear your words. Armor color simple. Then those of us, who have never even started Marine 6 styles, are we all idiots? This must be too shocking. Kebi couldn't help crying in his heart. Aside, the expressions of Garp and Aokiji were also full of horror. They stared at Layfon closely, their eyes were wide and round, and the emotions on their faces changed wildly. Vice Admiral Garp, has your grandson always been this good? Aokiji opened his mouth, his throat was dry. Cough cough. Garp coughed dryly and looked proud. Of course, I don't even look at whose grandson this is. The old man's grandson has always been so good, don't you agree? Dare not dare. Aokiji suppressed the inner shock slightly. He still couldn't believe what Layfon said just now. This is too scary. Armed color is really easy to get started. What a joke. Could it be 183? When he has learned the armed colors for several months, is it really fake? It took a whole few months for him to barely learn the armed color, and it was just an introduction, not considered to have cultivated the armed color to the point of proficiency. But Aokiji was sure of one thing. The armed color released by Layfon just now has a very high level of proficiency. If it wasn't for years of accumulated experience, how could it be possible to reach this level of attainment? But what did this kid just say? Getting started this morning. Is this a joke? In one day, you can get started with armed colors. Do not, strictly speaking, in one morning, learn armament hockey into the entrance. Even extremely proficient, it seems that there are at least several years of experience accumulation. How is this possible? Aokiji was a little dizzy from being hit on the head by a heavy object, and his thinking became chaotic. The successive blows from Layfon made Aokiji almost doubtful. Who I am? Where am I? What am I going to do? Aokiji's expression was particularly bewildered. Vice Admiral Garp, do you believe it? Aokiji couldn't help twisting his stiff neck and asked Garp. All this is too unbelievable. Even with his dignified Admiral of Headquarters experience, he can't judge whether all this is true or not. Get started with armed color in one morning. What an international joke. Advertisement. If it was someone else, I might call it off with a slap in the face, bragging and not drafting. But only this kid, Layfon, made me subconsciously have a kind of Maotang. This is very likely to be true. Garp took a deep breath, but still couldn't completely suppress the shock in his heart. He recalled. Compared with the many shocking things that happened to Layfon in the past, it seems that the current thing is not so unacceptable. With lessons learned, anything that happened to Layfon, those unbelievable examples, suddenly appeared in Garp's eyes, and it wasn't so overwhelming for him. After all, on Layfon, he has seen too many incredible examples. In other words, Garp was already a little numb from the shock. His psychological endurance has also grown stronger day by day. As Garp's voice fell, Aokiji opened his mouth in horror. A morning armed color primer. What a terrifying talent this is. Anyway, with Aokiji's thinking ability, he can't imagine it at all. It took a whole morning to learn armament hockey as a beginner. What a terrifying level of talent the other party possessed. Unimaginable. Seriously beyond imagination. Pokato, do you believe it too? Aokiji looked at Pokato again. With the same expression as Aokiji, Pokato also looked confused. Hearing Aokiji's question, Pokato blurted out without thinking, I believe it. If it's Layfon, Pokato will choose to believe without hesitation. Pokato has been shaken too many times. As a result, he also developed a certain degree of immunity. Aokiji withdrew his gaze, his expression stunned, and he froze in place. FFLX. This kid really didn't lie. Just one morning to get started with armed color. It's only one morning. How many hours, if calculated carefully? 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. It takes only 5 hours to die. Just learn armament hockey, this high-end actual combat skill, which has a certain degree of difficulty in combat methods, and learn it directly to the beginning, and it seems that it has been proficient for several years. It doesn't matter if you learn the armed color to get started. What's the matter with the strength of this armed color? How can a novice who has just gotten started with armed colors possess the strength of such armed colors? Is this really right? Aokiji Admiral, you are still too young. Little knowledge, it's not your fault, it can only be said that you have too little knowledge. Layfon patted Aokiji's arm with emotion. Aokiji was speechless. Being patted by a child who was only 7 years old, I am too young. What kind of experience is this? The key, BFJ. What the hell is he already in his 40s? Know little about yourself. I am the Admiral of Headquarters. Kid, who do you think you are talking to? Aokiji couldn't help complaining in his heart. Anyway, I'm also Admiral, can you save me some face? You do this, I am very shameless Marine Admiral. Advertisement. Under the severe blow, Aokiji couldn't speak for a while, and countless words were all wiped out, swallowed by him, and he couldn't speak anymore. Seeing Aokiji's expression, Pokato next to him felt the same feeling. If anyone understands Aokiji's ups and downs at the moment, it's naturally Pokato. How similar the two experiences are. It was the same experience that made Pokato feel deeply about Aokiji's emotional ups and downs, and couldn't help feeling admiration in his heart. Aokiji Admiral, after a while, I think you will have a certain immunity. The more you get hit, the more you get used to it. Look at me, after these few days of hard work, I feel refreshed and my back doesn't hurt anymore. In the past, it was very strenuous to walk, but now I can walk 20 meters in one breath without panting. I'm in my 40s this year, and by the looks of it, can you tell shit? I look like someone in their 40s. Others praise me, like an old man in his 50s or 60s. Really helpless. I met a monster, what can I do? So, I really hate geniuses. I hate the genius among geniuses even more, that kind of monster beyond the scope of common sense. Pokato and Aokiji have mixed feelings. Is this the genius you use? Aokiji looked at Layfon with complicated eyes. I dare not even dream about it. One day, he will really meet a monster genius of this level. With his admiral experience, he was overturned by the other party's cognition and worldview. Let me calm down. I take my leave first. Aokiji turned around helplessly, and left the deck in despair. It took him a little time to digest the many things that happened today. Up to now, his forehead is still a little buzzing, and he is dizzy. Watch Aokiji leave. The people on the deck also dispersed. Only Garp was left, looking at Layfon strangely. Finally. All the surprises turned into proud laughter. As expected of my grandson, it seems that I teach well. Kid, work harder, the position of Admiral is within your reach. Looking at Garp with a proud look on his face. Layfon was speechless. Old man, show some face. The time of the sea, the past is silent. A boring voyage will always make people ignore the passage of time inadvertently. The warship sails at an even speed, with Naval Headquarters Marineford as the ultimate goal. During the voyage, occasionally experienced a few pirate groups, but they were all easily resolved. Just under the situation that warship sails with uniform speed. Time flies. Another day. The sun rises slowly from the horizon, and the golden sun hangs on the edge of the horizon, sending out a golden halo that penetrates the clouds and falls below. There was a slight breeze. The sea water floats, rippling and ripples. Ripples form waves and drift away, wandering into the distance. As the golden light from the sky falls, it shines on the sea surface, making the sea surface sparkle with dazzling halos, dazzling and eye-catching like gold. The warship, as always, sailed at an even speed. I don't know when it will start. Right in front of the warship, a towering building suddenly appeared in the originally endless sea area, as if towering into the clouds. A towering wall encloses the building into a fortress. The impregnable fortress looks easy to defend but hard to attack, and its structure is very fine. There are many buildings in the 4 directions, and the most majestic building in the middle is set off like a star holding the moon, making everyone's eyes immediately attracted to it. Visible to the naked eye. Just above the main gate of the most majestic and towering sword dance, that is, on its front wall, there are 2 extremely large and eye-catching words. Marine. No doubt. Here's what's rumored. The holy place in the hearts of all Marines. Similarly, it is also the nightmare land of countless pirates. Naval Headquarters, Marineford. Advertisement Chapter 137. The strength is further improved. The magic of skill points. Open black lens bracket 3/6 for customization. Close black lens bracket. Advertisement. The sea area in all directions is endless. In this area, there is only such a building group that resembles a fortress and is like an island. Buildings at sea. Like an island in the sea, it was forcibly opened up. And here is the rumored naval headquarters. Marine Admiral, the place where the Marine Admiral sits, is the nightmare zone in the hearts of countless pirates. The central building of Marineford is surrounded by a layer of city walls, like a city pool, surrounding many building groups in the center. Therefore, if foreign ships want to enter Marineford, they must pass through the gates set up outside the Marineford port. Without permission, no ship can break into the interior of the Marineford port. And on the top of the city wall, there are still many Marine soldiers standing, observing the movement of the four seas with a dignified appearance, meticulous, without any slack at all. Certainly, over the years, very few people have dared to break into Marineford head-on. These Marine soldiers on guard have basically never seen any pirates dare to appear in the nearby waters. In the eyes of most pirates, the surrounding sea area around Marineford is also regarded as an absolute forbidden area, a terrifying forbidden area that cannot be crossed no matter what. Crash. The sea water was floating, rippling and rolling waves. A warship with the front section shaped like a dog's head, flying the Marine flag, sailed gradually from the distant sea area, and kept approaching the outer gate set up by Marineford. Tread, tread. There were waves of orderly footsteps on the deck. Colonel Pocato, I have successfully seen Naval Headquarters Marineford. Several Marines trotted to the center of the deck with excited faces, and reported the truth to Pocato. Has it arrived yet? Pocato's eyes flashed. It went really well. During this journey, apart from encountering a few small thieves, there were not many accidents and mistakes. Naturally, as expected, an expected time. After spending a whole day, I finally arrived at the end of the trip. Naval Headquarters, Marineford. Let the helmsman steer the warship at full speed into the gateway inner harbor of Marineford. Quote. I'm going to notify Vice Admiral Garp. Pocato left the deck quickly. Not long. Garp, who got the news, also came to the front of the deck, and looked at the towering buildings directly in front of him, with a smile on his face. For Marineford, he certainly could not feel strange. Garp, who has been working for at least several decades, has already regarded Marineford as his second home. Compared with his hometown Windmill Village, Garp's stay in Marineford is obviously much longer. Notify Layfon boy, get him ready to land at Marineford. Garp said something to Pocato. Yes, Vice Admiral Garp. Pocato was about to turn around and leave, unexpectedly. After a pause, Garp deliberated and ordered again. By the way, there is also the little girl brought back from the capital of Seven Waters last time, let her prepare as well. Yes, Pocato leaves. At the front of the deck, Garp was left alone. Looking at Marineford, which was still about 2,000 meters away, a smile of anticipation appeared on his face. I'm really looking forward to it, Sengoku. I came back this time, but I brought you a big surprise. I let a terrible monster join the Marine. You don't have to worry about the fact that Marine is unable to take over. With my grandson, Marine will definitely prosper. Of course, you will never imagine it until you meet my grandson. What a terrifying monster. Garp is deeply looking forward to this. He couldn't wait, he wanted to show off in front of his old comrade Sengoku. This is my grandson. The blood of the old man flows through his body. Inside the room, the golden halo in the sky spilled from the windows and shone on the window sills. Layfon opened his eyes. Another day full of hope. Layfon jumped up, his eyes twinkled, and his face was filled with anticipation and excitement. A good day, of course, starts with the daily check-in. This, too, is the moment Layfon has been eagerly waiting for. The most important moment of the day. What rewards can I get for signing in this time? Layfon had a smile on his face. As always, he immediately thought. System, check-in. Open black lens bracket ding, close black lens bracket. The cumulative time of the detection system has reached 24 hours. Open black lens bracket you can sign in, please host to confirm again, do you want to sign in, close black lens bracket. Confirm check-in. Without the slightest hesitation, it was still the same as before. For this process, Layfon has naturally been familiar with it for a long time, and what is familiar can't be more familiar. Open black lens bracket sign in successfully, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket congratulations to host, you got the ability gift package for sign in reward, close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Open black lens bracket do you want to open the ability gift pack, close black lens bracket. Open. Just when Layfon was full of excitement and expectation. The voice of the system, followed by a quick response, sounded from my mind. Ability gift pack is opening. Open black lens bracket enabled, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket ding, close black lens bracket. Congratulations to host, get strength plus 20, speed plus 20 stamina plus 20, skill points plus 5 from the ability gift pack. Layfon was slightly taken aback. Immediately, the meaning of ecstasy wells up in my heart. The ability gift pack this time is indeed beyond Layfon's original expectations. I never thought that it was actually an improvement in all aspects of the body. Not only strength, but also speed and stamina have been significantly improved. If there is no accident, the ability gift pack this time will give him a leap of doubling his strength. This is an improvement in physical strength. Layfon distinguishes them very carefully. Different from armament hockey improves its own strength from the perspective of overall strength. But this time, the strength and speed of the sign in rewards have been improved, which directly improves the fundamental physique of the body. There is a huge difference between the two, if one has to delve deeper. Certainly, no matter how big the power failure is, their essential meaning is to make Cao Feng's strength stronger. Kindness. What's the matter with this skill point? Layfon finally noticed. At the end of the rewards, besides strength, speed, and stamina, there is also a skill point. What is this? This is the first time Layfon has come into contact with it. He was still a little puzzled before. What does the system mean when it gives an attribute panel for skill points? This moment, Layfon finally got his wish, and met rewards related to skill points. But what are the main functions of these skill points? For all of this, Layfon is currently a little incomprehensible, and his head is in a dizzy state. Immediately afterwards, before Layfon could react, a warm current quickly emerged from the body, sweeping the meridians and blood of the limbs. Every corner was washed by this warm current. The sense of comfort made Layfon close his eyes and feel it carefully. He put aside all the doubts and confusion in his mind, and felt the feeling of this moment wholeheartedly. This is the taste of becoming stronger. Intoxicating. About 30 seconds passed, after the system transformation is completed. Layfon opened his eyes again, with a dazzling light shining in them. Clenching his fists tightly, he could feel that his body was undergoing a huge transformation. Power. Become more vigorous. The double fist seemed to contain endless violent power. The terrifying power contained in this punch seems to be able to sink the entire warship. Of course, this is only a temporary illusion. It was just an illusion created by Layfon after the physical fitness ushered in a transformation. But even so, Layfon can still feel very deeply that his physical fitness is much stronger than before. Really, comprehensive attribute plus 2-0. This ability gift pack is not covered. After the ability transformation from this gift pack, Layfon's strength has doubled again. After the transformation, my strength can at least triple or more than before. Layfon narrowed his eyes slightly. 3 times. More than. Possibly quadruple, or 5 times. All in all, what Layfon can feel is that he has become stronger, but how much his specific strength has improved remains to be verified. You need to find a benchmark to measure your own strength, so as to compete with the opponent. In this way, Dianfeng can accurately judge how many times his strength has increased. But for now, Layfon can't find a similar target to measure its own strength. Poketo. Unfortunately, seeking flowers 0. Colonel Poketo has been seriously eliminated. He is no longer eligible to play against Layfon. Anyway, they were killed in seconds. This makes Layfon, how can he feel the improvement of his own strength from the confrontation with the opponent? At last, this skill point, I have to think about it. Advertisement. What the hell is this thing? Layfon was lost in thought. He has never been exposed to skill points before, so he can't understand how skill points should be used for a while, and what kind of functions and effects they have. System. Bring up the body attribute panel. Layfon thought to himself. Then, a virtual attribute panel quickly appeared in his eyes. Open black lens bracket host. Layfon close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket power. 50 plus 20 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket speed. 51 plus 20 close black lens bracket. Physical strength. 49 plus 20. Open black lens bracket skills. Swordsmanship LV10, Conqueror's Hockey IV4, Armament Hakilv 1, Marine 6 Styles 1 close black lens bracket. Skill points. 5 plus 5. This time, the ability gift pack for sign in rewards is very rich in content. Let Layfon's strength, speed, and physical strength directly increase by 20 points. It can be said that, basically, double the power of Layfon. The overall strength has at least doubled several times. I turned my gaze. Layfon looked at the skill point at the bottom of his attribute panel, raised his eyebrows, and fell into deep thought. 0. Skill points. Is it possible that all the panels I own can be improved to a certain extent? Consuming skill points, can I improve the skills I have mastered? With such an idea, Layfon began to communicate with the system tentatively. System, use skill points to improve sword skills. Words just fell. Expected at Layfon. Waiting. The system sounded as expected. Consuming skill points to improve swordsmanship. Open black lens bracket swordsmanship has been improved successfully. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket current sword skill level. 11 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket skill point consumption. 2 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket existing skill points. 3 close black lens bracket. It's done. Layfon's expression became a little agitated. Sure enough, as I guessed, the skill points are used to improve the skills I have mastered. I didn't understand the concept of wrong skill points. 2 skill points, can you raise 1 level of swordsmanship? Or, the consumption of skill points depends on the level, so there is a need for different consumption. Layfon thought again. Different levels of swordsmanship need to consume different skill points. This possibility is very high. If it doesn't consume more skill points as the level increases, wouldn't it only take 200 skill points to raise the level of swordsmanship to IV 100? You can try again. See if the consumption of skill points is as I thought. Layfon tried again. System, use skill points to upgrade the sword bed again. Consuming skill points to improve swordsmanship. Open black lens bracket. Swordsmanship has been improved successfully. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Current sword skill level, IV12. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Skill point consumption, 3. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Existing skill points, 0. Close black lens bracket. Call. The level of swordsmanship has been increased twice, but the skill points consumed are completely different. Heaving a sigh of relief, Layfon finally had a comprehensive understanding of skill points. After sorting out his thoughts, Layfon checked his body attribute panel again. Open black lens bracket. Skill point, 0. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Host, Layfon. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Physical strength, 49. Close black lens bracket. This time, not only did my physical fitness become stronger, I also gained the magical effect of skill points, which improved my swordsmanship a lot. What a rewarding day. The level upgrade of different skills will seriously affect the consumption of skill points. This alone is enough to give Layfon a very accurate reference. It allows him to preliminarily judge that the consumption of skill points is closely related to the level of the skill itself. Open black lens bracket. Power, 50. Close black lens bracket. A good mood for the day starts from signing in. 51. Become stronger. Bring up the properties panel. The smile on Layfon's face was extraordinarily bright. Open black lens bracket. Skills, swordsmanship LV12 plus V2. Conquerors Hakill 4 plus LV3. Armament Hakill 1. Marine 6 styles V1. Close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Chapter 138. The old man came to ask for a Marine official title for his grandson. Open black lens bracket. 4/6 for customization. Close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Boom boom boom. A pleasant knock on the door, from Layfon's ear, startled him from his thoughts. Suppressing many thoughts in his mind, Layfon stretched his arms and walked to the door. Crunch. Push open the door. Seeing Pakuto standing in front of the room, Layfon looked a little surprised. Colonel Pakuto. It's so early in the morning, why are you here? I've arrived at my destination, and Vice Admiral Garp called me to get you ready to log in. Pakuto told the truth. Destination, Naval Headquarters Marineford. Layfon's eyes twinkled. Right, Pakuto nodded. Immediately, after the notification, Pakuto left quickly without chatting too much with Layfon. Watching Pakuto leave, Layfon stood in front of the room with a look of anticipation. Marineford. We are finally arriving at this sacred and inviolable place in the eyes of all Marines. After a little preparation and without spending too much time, Layfon left the door and walked to the front of the deck with the samurai sword at his waist. Soon, he saw Garp, who was already standing on the deck. There are also Kebi, Berumeber and others. Even Aokiji has stood by Garp's side. They all coincidentally looked at the 133 sea area directly ahead. As the warship pushed aside the seawater on both sides, the waves rolled, and at a speed visible to the naked eye, the distance between the warship and Marineford was constantly getting closer. I have to ask, what was it like seeing Naval Headquarters Marineford for the first time? Layfon can answer. Solemn, strict, rigorous. A sense of oppression came from Marineford, even though it was hundreds of meters away. Layfon, who was standing on the edge of the deck fence, still felt a strong sense of oppression. On both sides of the building on the front, there are countless buildings with lighthouse-like structures on the top, and the temperament of Marine hanging above it is fluttering in the wind. Also, there are also quite a few Marine elites standing here with long guns and binoculars, guarding the place, and observing the movement of the Quartet Sea from the highest point. Here, that's Marineford. Layfon looked at the building complex similar to a fortress with emotion. This is the holy land in the hearts of all Marines. It is also a place that can be called a nightmare in the hearts of all pirates. The terrible place where Marine 3 Admiral sits. Well, isn't it grand? Garp looked at Layfon with a smile. Good. Layfon waved his hand. You call this okay? Garp muttered strangely, then stopped talking. Marineford has integrated the lifelong painstaking efforts of countless talented architects to make these architectural structures into what it is today. But when it came to Layfon's mouth, it was just okay. With the helmsman at the helm, the warships approached at an even speed, and gradually and completely entered the outer port of Marineford. Close range. It can be seen very clearly that the huge gate has become the only entrance and exit of the surrounding walls, and it exudes a sense of austerity. This Naval Headquarters? Kebi and Belumbo were a little uneasy. Compared with Layfon's calmness, the two of them formed a very inferior contrast. You two, don't learn from other people's mentality. Knew it. Advertisement. Some people are just born different. With the comparison, these terrifying existences can be set off even more detached. Pakuto looked at Kebi and Layfon, and sighed helplessly. The gap is too big. As the warship approached the gate, the Marine soldiers above noticed that it was Garp, and immediately opened the gate respectfully. Open the door. Crash. The huge door was opened, and the seawater on both sides was pushed, and there were waves of weak sea currents, ripples and waves, spreading in all directions. Then, the warship sailed smoothly through the outer gate and entered the inner port of Marineford. Standing on the deck of a warship, Layfon can already clearly see that directly ahead, the internal port of Marineford is still docked with a large number of warships, flying with the wind with the unique temperament of Marine. The warships are neatly and orderly arranged on the edge of the inner port, majestic and majestic. Soon, the warship reached the edge of the port. Garp told Layfon. Boy, remember to take your daughter-in-law away. What the hell, old man, speak clearly. Layfon looked at Garp strangely. Young married woman, where is my daughter-in-law? Said Khalifa. Layfon almost forgot about the existence of the woman Khalifa. This woman's sense of existence is too bad, if not for Garp's reminder, Layfon almost couldn't remember her. Pocato, take the boy to set up a room. Garp ordered to Pocato. Yes, Vice Admiral Garp. After Pocato nodded in agreement, he took the initiative to speak to Layfon. Mr. Layfon, I will help you arrange all the tedious steps and procedures. You just need to follow me. Of course, Layfon will not take the initiative to take care of these tedious matters. As for the two of you, Kebi and Beru Meber, I will also arrange people to lead you to the Marine recruit camp. Your experience is still lacking, and you need to start from the grassroots. Garp turned to Kirby. The treatment of the two of them, of course, cannot be compared with Layfon. The levels are completely different. Recruit camp. Layfon doesn't need to go to this place at all. With Layfon's strength, going to the recruit camp has no real meaning except for the blasting hammer instructor. Boy, as for where you are going, I will discuss it with the old guy Sengoku later. Do not worry. Garp patted Layfon's shoulder with a smile on his face. Even if the old man puts up with this face and refuses, he will ask for the status of a Marine officer for you. Furthermore, with your kid's strength, you are indeed qualified to be a Marine officer. It's just that you don't have too many achievements yet. But relying on your record of destroying some pirate groups before, these experiences should be enough for you to be directly promoted to a Marine officer after joining the Marine. There is no need to start from the Marine project. Quote. After some introduction, Garp left quickly, and Pocato, with Layfon and Khalifa with a resentful face, left the warship all the way and officially landed in the port of Marineford. Lopsided. A group of people gradually disappeared in the port area. Marshal's office. Do not know why. Sengoku, who had just finished processing the documents in his hand, suddenly felt his eyelids beating crazily, as if he had an ominous premonition. Not quite right. Sengoku muttered something under his breath. The right skin jumps wildly. A bad omen. Advertisement. What is going to happen? Sengoku pondered. I rarely feel such weird emotional waves. Always feel bad. Back is a little chilly. Seems to be. It's like being missed by some people. Let me think about it. 11. There is something that I have neglected. Sengoku rubbed his temples and leaned back in the chair with a tired face. As a Marine Marshal, there are naturally many affairs that need to be dealt with every day. After some busy work, many things will be forgotten, which is inevitable. After a little relief, Sengoku looked out the window, looked at the blue sky and white clouds, his mood eased a little, and his spirit became more comfortable. Kindness. Suddenly, Sengoku frowned. $71. I really forgot an important thing. Garp. It's the Garp guy. Remember this guy, seems to be arriving in Marineford today. No wonder my right eyelid is throbbing like crazy. Quote. It's old Garp going back to Marineford. Sengoku looked out of the window with a strange expression on his face. He had a strong premonition. Garp may already be on the way. Do not. Even, the other party was already on his way to the marshal's office. I remember some time ago he said. His grandson's name is Layfon. Is it a monster with a very terrifying talent? I just don't know if he will bring his grandson with him when he returns to Marineford this time. I just want to see what the genius he admires so much looks like. Sengoku was deeply curious about this. Nyen just thought of this. Boom. There was a loud bang. The entire door of the marshal's office seemed to be kicked open fiercely, and without warning, it was rushed away by a huge force and hit the edge of the wall. In such a huge office, there were faint signs of wavering. Sengoku frowned, turned around with anger on his face. Garp. No need to guess 2.5. Garp is the only one who dares to open the door so violently in the entire naval headquarters. Garp went straight to the desk and sat down at it. Only Garp is an exception. Presumably, all of this must not be difficult for you. There's something about my grandson Layfon. Seeing Garp, he suddenly felt even more disturbed. Sengoku was furious. Sure enough, Sengoku was directly distracted. Garp patted Sengoku's shoulder, and said with a smile, the main purpose of my coming here today is to ask you for a Marine rank for the old man's grandson, Layfon. Is this the first time the door has been broken by you? The status of an official Marine officer. Can't I still pay? Closer to home, I came to you this time to discuss a very important matter. Don't worry too much about the rest of the small things with me. Garp laughed and strode into the office. What important thing? Can't you change your personality? Sengoku, long time no see. Similar things have happened countless times, and Sengoku has become numb. Let him just ignore the fact that the office door was damaged. Even a Kainu dare not be so presumptuous in front of Sengoku. Advertisement Chapter 139. Have you ever seen a monster who mastered conquerors at the age of 7? Open black lens bracket 5/6 for customization. Close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Marine's official title. Garp, you guys, did you take the wrong medicine? If I remember correctly, your grandson Layfon is only 7 years old this year. As a result, you asked me to give him the status of an official Marine officer. The status of an official Marine officer, the lowest is Marine Ensign. You mean, you want me to give a 7-year-old child the status of Marine Ensign? Sengoku looked at Garp suspiciously. What are you kidding? 7-year-old Marine Ensign. Is this child's play? Do you really think that Marine is run by your family? If you want a Marine officer status, do you need a Marine officer status? Even if it is Garp, there is no need to talk about this matter. Private is private. No matter how good the relationship is, Sengoku will never allow this kind of thing to happen. If you really agree, how will you be viewed by others? Let a 7-year-old be a Marine Ensign. To know. A Marine Ensign, which is equivalent to a Marine officer, can independently own a warship and have 100 Marine soldiers as subordinates. You let a 7-year-old child, as Marine's Ensign, lead a warship and 100 Marine soldiers to go to sea to perform missions independently. How did you convince those 100 Marine soldiers? Let them do things under the hands of a 7-year-old. What are you kidding? Sengoku's expression became serious and serious. There is no need to talk about this matter. Even if he is a Marine Marshal, he will not use his power for personal gain to let Garp act like this. If this gets out, do you still want the face of Marshal Marine? How does this convince Marines' tens of millions of members? Garp, I won't let go of this matter. 14 As if seeing Garp's expression, Sengoku vetoed again. Sengoku, maybe you haven't met my grandson, you'll never understand how terrifying a person can be. I can vouch for it with my personality. Even Marine Ensign is an insult to my grandson. With my grandson's ability, he is now fully capable of handling any affairs of a Marine Commodore. Including the Marine Commodore's level of strength. Garp persuaded again with earnest words. Kindness. Sengoku frowned. Marine Commodore's strength level. Real or fake? Remember the guy's grandson, Garp, who's only 7 years old this year. Already at the age of 7, is the strength threshold of Marine Commodore. This is indeed quite shocking. Rao Sengoku's disposition and experience were really shaken severely. If it is as Garp said, well be sure, the grandson of this guy Garp must be a pretty amazing genius. However, this is not a reason to break the rules and let the other party become Marine Ensign. Garp, it's not that I don't let go, but that I have to consider many factors. Some things, once an exception is made, will become very troublesome and out of control. This instance cannot arise from me. If I open this hole, there will be countless similar examples in the future. I can't be the first one to break the rules, do you understand? Sengoku took a deep breath, his tone serious. You are too pedantic. Garp shook his head. As I said, my grandson Layfon. Only he is different, Marine Ensign, just the beginning for him. I can be sure, with his strength and terrifying talent, it doesn't take too long to be promoted to Marine Lieutenant Junior grade, Marine Captain, Marine Major, etc. To be honest, I have been in this sea for so many years. But I have never seen that someone can have such a terrifying talent. And he is still my grandson. Sengoku, I've decided. Layfon, he's my successor. A successor who can fully usher in the transformation and baptism of Marine. 10 years. Advertisement. No, it doesn't take 10 years. This journey has given me a deeper understanding of the kid's talent. Maybe in 5 years, he will definitely become the Admiral of Headquarters. The words fell. Sengoku was dumbfounded. What the hell? Becoming an Admiral of Headquarters for 5 years. Do you really think Admiral of Headquarters is the Chinese cabbage on the street? This is Marine's highest power. Represents the face of Marine. And your grandson Layfon, how old is this year? Only 7 years old. It will be Admiral within 5 years, doesn't that mean? Can hit the throne of Marine Admiral before the age of 12. How can that be? Do you really think Marine Admiral is that easy? Garp, are you getting old and confused? Garp, do you really know what you're talking about right now? Sengoku couldn't calm down and couldn't help questioning. 12-year-old Marine Admiral. Where did you get your confidence? Your grandson is only 7 years old this year. In 5 years, at most 12 years old will survive. How do you make me believe, a 12-year-old Admiral of Headquarters? This is simply unprecedented. In the past, now, and in the future, it is impossible for such unimaginable examples to appear. Admiral, the youngest headquarters in the history of Marine, is also in his 30s. There has never been an example of an admiral under the age of 20. Even admiral who is 30 years old is quite rare. In the end you told me, a teenage Admiral of Headquarters. This is pure nonsense. Impossible. Anyway, with Sengoku's many years of experience, he couldn't believe what Garp said before him. All of this is too shocking and unbelievable. It's an impossible thing to happen. The first time, Sengoku directly rejected it. He couldn't believe it, and he never wanted to believe it. A 12-year-old Admiral of Headquarters. So. Sengoku, you simply cannot comprehend what a terrifying genius the grandson of Old Master is. Would I say these exaggerated remarks out of nowhere? If I didn't have the history of everything, would I exaggerate? It's not just me bragging. Since I said that, I think that this matter has a very high certainty. It will be Admiral in 5 years, I said it. Garp has always believed so firmly. Layfon, the talent is too high. So high that Garp infinitely shortened the time he thought Layfon would be able to achieve Marine Admiral. 10 years from the original. Then, shorten it to 5 years. It can be seen from this. How much Garp expects from Layfon. Furthermore, the terrifying talent displayed by Layfon also convinced Garp in his heart. With Layfon's terrifying talent, it's no exaggeration to say that Admiral will become Admiral within 5 years, and he even made a very conservative estimate. 5 years will surely make Admiral. Sengoku's eyes were dazed. Is it possible? Ask yourself. 7 years old, 5 years later, only 12 years old. 12-year-old Admiral of Headquarters. Sengoku seemed to deny it at first, but seeing Garp's serious look, suddenly Sengoku couldn't say anything, and his firm belief was slightly shaken. Advertisement. He knows. Garp is not one to exaggerate. Now that this is said, there must be some reasons. Thereby, make Garp so convinced. My grandson will become Marine Admiral within 5 years. What kind of talent? That guy Garp is so convinced. Can a 7-year-old child achieve the Admiral of Headquarters in just 5 years? Sengoku couldn't imagine. His thinking has been seriously limited. These years, he has never seen such a terrifyingly gifted genius. Which Admiral of Headquarters has not experienced countless fights before it transformed into the highest combat power of Marine today? Can a 7-year-old child transform into such a terrifying top power within 5 years? How is this possible? Sengoku took a deep breath, even if he was willing to believe Garp, but what Garp said was so unbelievable that he couldn't believe it in his heart. Sengoku, trust me once. My grandson, you will not be disappointed. Let's not let me down. Only he is different. With his existence, Marine's future will be smooth sailing. I even saw in him the terrifying talent and potential that can surpass me. He will definitely grow to a very terrifying state. Garp looked at Sengoku seriously. This moment, Sengoku hesitated a bit. His firm belief gradually began to be shaken. 7-year-old boy. Will it be Admiral within 5 years? 12-year-old Marine Admiral. Do not know why. Seeing Garp's expression, Sengoku actually believed it. 7-year-old Marine Ensign. Just joined the Marine, and directly promoted to Marine Ensign. This is really difficult. Although I can give him the official title of Marine Ensign, what will others say? Sengoku rubbed his temples, feeling helpless. Think about it. Finally, Sengoku had a plan in mind. Looking at Garp's expectant expression, Sengoku sighed and asked curiously, can you tell me about your grandson Layfon? What kind of talent made Garp lose his composure? And make such a solemn promise? 5 years will be Admiral. After a little deliberation, Garp's eyes flickered, and he looked at Sengoku in front of him, with a meaningful expression on his face. Knowing a lot about Sengoku's character, he knew it. What kind of terrible genius is Garp's grandson, Layfon? This made Sengoku very curious. At this time, a smile appeared on Garp's face when he heard Sengoku's words. Sengoku, have you ever seen a monster who is only 7 years old and can already master it perfectly and use Conqueror's Haki proficiently? This made Sengoku, an old comrade in arms of Garp, naturally very curious and wanted to know. What kind of genius is Layfon described by Garp in this way? Only one person. It can even be said accurately. Now that Sengoku has let go, things will naturally become a lot easier. What kind of genius can be given such a high evaluation? Things are done. Only such a person can make Garp give such a high evaluation. What about Layfon? Do not. There are definitely not many people who can be given such a high evaluation by Garp. Unprecedented ratings. Advertisement Chapter 140. Even the grandson can show off the morals of this world. Open black lens bracket 6/6 for customization. Close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Kindness. Sengoku was taken aback. What the hell? At only 7 years old, the monster who perfectly controls Conqueror's Haki. Wait a moment. Perfect control. Sure. Not awakening Conquerors. But perfect control. These two are completely different concepts. Awakening Conquerors means possessing Conqueror's talents. 7-year-old awakening Conquerors, although examples are very rare, but not without. Some terrifying monster geniuses, at this age, will experience some extremely dangerous situations, thereby stimulating the potential of the human body, and subconsciously awaken Conquerors. There are at least a lot of similar examples in Sengoku. However, the situation Garp mentioned is unique. It's control, not awakening. The difference in meaning between the two words is huge. 7 years old taking control of Conquerors. Can it be used proficiently? What does that mean? Sengoku couldn't help but gasped, and looked at Garp with horror on his face. Are you sure? Are you right? It's not awakening, but control. This is a completely different concept. Compared with awakening, at the age of only 7 years old, he perfectly controlled the Conquerors. What a shitty thing this is. 7-year-old awakening Conquerors, within a reasonable range. But mastering Conquerors at the age of 7 is beyond common sense. Such a rare example, to be honest, Rao has never heard of it in his life based on Sengoku's experience. I didn't miss it, and you heard it right. It's about control, perfect control, and the ability to use it freely and proficiently, not just ordinary awakened Conquerors. Garp nodded solemnly with a serious face. 7-year-old controls Conquerors. Sengoku opened his mouth and was speechless for a while. He was stunned. Who are these people? Is there such a monster? You don't want to say. Feeling something, Sengoku looked at Kapu with a dry throat. 7 years old. This example is not trivial. He can always think of what Garp said before, the grandson Layfon who has never met. Yes, I've seen it. The one who perfectly controls Conqueror's Haki at the age of 7 is my grandson Layfon. Didn't I tell you before? When you see my grandson, you will naturally understand. Why, a real monster. My grandson Layfon, he is a true horror monster. Garp had a proud look on his face. Yes, Layfon is the old man's grandson. This kid's body is full of the blood of the old man. Call. Sengoku exhaled heavily, unable to calm down in shock. The rhythm of breathing was also disrupted, and even the thinking in his head became a little confused. 7 years old, perfect color control. Did you teach? Sengoku looked at Garp. No, not right. This matter, I also feel a little puzzled. When I first came into contact with this kid, his conquerors was perfectly mastered. So, it doesn't have much to do with me. If there is anything to do with it, then I can only say. This may be genetic. After all, I have such an excellent bloodline. No matter how bad this kid is, it's impossible for him to be so bad. Backquote. Garp laughed out loud. To this, Sengoku was speechless. Good guy. Now that you have found an opportunity, you are crazy about showing your presence. Now it's time to show off your grandkids. Advertisement. What kind of world is this? Can even the grandson show it off? Garp, I'm afraid he has been waiting for this day for a long time, right? Fine. As long as you are happy. It also happened to show me, your grandson Layfon, how terrifyingly gifted he is. Sengoku, you don't think that my grandson Layfon is just like this? Then I have to tell you with regret. This is just part of my grandson Layfon's talent. Garp had a playful smile on his face. It's finally his favorite moment. In front of old comrade Sengoku, finding the capital to show off to each other has always been Garp's dream. Now, finally found a chance. What to show off? To show off the grandson, of course. I have a monster grandson who's gifted. Then please. Sengoku, what about you? Sengoku, you old guy, you will fall into my palm one day. Didn't you say that I am incapable of teaching in the past? Do you think I have no ability to teach? Is this what made my son and grandson deviate from the marine path? Now, I'm going to make you speechless. Convince you. The old man is not good at teaching. No, my grandson Layfon is the most obvious representative. Represents the teaching level of the old man. Garp thought a lot in his heart, and his expression became extraordinarily excited and expectant. He had been dreaming of this day. Can save face in front of Sengoku. Tear up the so-called teaching ineffective label in the past. No way to teach. What a joke. My grandson Layfon is so good. Who dares to say that he is incapable of teaching? Don't be a fool. Sengoku looked at the excited Garp with a depressed face, and then spoke. He suddenly had an ominous premonition. This wave, shouldn't it really turn the tables on Garp? Could it be? Is it really going to be compared to Garp in this place? Not good. Sengoku stared at Garp with a grim look. Then I'll be straight. Before that, I hope you, Sengoku, can calm down. Don't be surprised by what I say, and prepare yourself mentally. Correct. Garp looked at Sengoku suspiciously. Do you have a heart attack or something? Quote exclamation mark quote. Sengoku was taken aback for a moment, then flew into a rage. Hey hey. Garp laughed, and introduced with a serious face, my grandson Layfon, I can say without exaggeration. This talent is unprecedented in the hundreds of years in the sea, and this is the only case. It will be Admiral within 5 years, I am not exaggerating or bragging. Once I finish telling you, Sengoku, you will naturally believe me. The old man's words today are all from the bottom of his heart. Even if it is my grandson, I will never exaggerate and brag. In addition to mastering Conqueror's Haki at the young age of 7. My grandson, Layfon, also mastered Marine 6 styles. Falling with Garp's voice, Sengoku was a little dazed. Marine 6 styles. Did you teach it again? But I remember that your grandson has not been in contact with you for half a month. In half a month, he learned Marine 6 styles. This talent is indeed terrifying. Sengoku couldn't help being moved. Learn Marine 6 styles in half a month. Real or fake? Half a month. This time it was Garp's turn with a weird look on his face. Who told you for half a month? And, who told you that I taught this kid? Is not it? Sengoku froze. Could it be? Been exposed to Marine 6 styles before? Advertisement. So here comes the problem. Who taught this lad Layfon? How did this kid learn it? Of course not, I never taught this kid. Garp shook his head, and I have to tell you first, this kid is not the Marine 6 styles that took half a month to learn. Instead, he is an emperor. One morning, Sengoku's eyes widened, obediently. What are you kidding? Marine 6 styles, just need a morning to get started. What are you talking about in your sleep? Marine 6 styles, anyway, is also the most practical combat skills in Marine. Countless Marines need at least half a year to learn Marine 6 styles. Your grandson Layfon just one morning. What are you farting? Do you really think that our naval headquarters and these Marines are worthless? If you say half a month, then I can still understand. Although it is scary, it is still within the scope of common sense, and it also refreshed the record held by Naval Headquarters Aokiji. At this point, Sengoku can still understand. But in the end, it turned out to be only one morning. How can that be? You wait a moment, I haven't finished talking yet, what are you in a hurry for? The smile on Garp's face became even weirder. Besides, no one taught Layfon this kid. It was he who stole the Marine 6 styles from Pokato during the battle with Pokato. Exactly. No one taught this kid, but he learned it secretly. That's right, you heard me right, this kid learned Marine 6 styles secretly during the battle. Moreover, it seems that you are born with this talent for fighting. After stealing it, it only takes one morning to fully master it, and completely cultivate Marine 6 styles to the beginning. The atmosphere suddenly became weird. Silence. Sengoku's eyes widened, pupils filled with deep horror. What the hell? Stealth. Marine 6 styles trick, how can someone steal it? This is the first time Sengoku has heard such an unbelievable example. This is Marine 6 styles. In the Marine, only the elite Marines can learn the actual combat skills, and it is also the greatest actual combat skill in the Marine over the years. Is it so weird that someone secretly learned it during the battle? It only takes one morning to master it. Are you sure? You're not talking in your sleep. Sengoku, who was in a state of extreme shock, couldn't help but doubt it. All of this, of money, is too scary. It's not that he doesn't believe in Garp, it's that things are way too exaggerated. What do you think? Otherwise, I would say that my grandson has the capital of Admiral for Mao. And he also said that he will become Admiral within 5 years. Where do you think my confidence comes from? Garp burst out laughing. Seeing Sengoku's shocked and bewildered expression, Yinku's mood became extraordinarily comfortable. Right. That's it. This is the effect the old man wants to achieve. Sengoku, you're still too young after all. Before, you used the things that the old man taught you all day long to scold the old man. It's good now. What do you think about the old man's grandson, Layfon, who has such a terrifying talent? No way to teach. If the old man has no way to teach. And how to teach such a terrible successor? In the future, whoever dares to say that the old man is incapable of teaching, the old man will beat him to death. This moment, because of Layfon, Garp was finally able to stand proud in front of Sengoku. Over the years, Garp has accumulated countless boredom because of the label of teaching is ineffective. Now, these long accumulated depressions, along with Layfon's terrifying talent, can make Garp get his wish and vent all these depressions. This taste is simply too refreshing. Awesome. Garp's mood at the moment felt unprecedented joy and satisfaction. Starting today, the old man can finally officially get rid of the label of being incompetent in teaching. Advertisement.